Alrighty. Welcome back, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Come on in, hit that like button. Let me know where you are checking in from. Sorry about what happened. Shoot, 15 minutes ago. I had to. I guess everybody's probably on that other one, but I had to delete that one when I went to hit the live button in the studio. The actual live wasn't there. I saw it still on YouTube, but it didn't allow me to go on live from the studio version of it. So I had to create a new live. That's why I'm late. So I deleted that other one. So hopefully everybody realizes that I had to delete that one and start a new one. So come on in, hit that like button. Shout out to Nick. Nick is in the building. Appreciate you, Nick. Aaron Anderson is in the building. Come on in. Come on in. Interstate Screw is in the building. Who else we got in the building? Who else we have in the building? Shout out to Aaron. Detroit is in the building. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. I'm not going to even put this up on Instagram. That old link is up on Instagram, but oh well. Oh well. They can just watch the replay. Because I'm not going to be on here long tonight, guys. I'm going to come in. I'm going to do what I got to do. I'm going to answer a few questions and I'm going to get out of here. I want to get in the bed early tonight. I want to watch some Power, man. I ain't watched no episodes of Power yet. I still got an episode or two to catch up on Snowfall, so I want to chill out and do that tonight. So I'm going to present to you what I need to present to you, and then I am going to enjoy the rest of my night and relax, man, because I'm tired. Daniel Williams is in the building as always. Atlanta is in the building. Detroit's in the building. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So tonight we're going to be talking about low density and high density, how to determine what lane to run for your box truck business. And this is something like everything, pretty much every live I do that's educational, where I try to teach something based on my experience, from being in the industry with a little mix of, my business background from school, coupled all of that, putting all that into the pot is kind of what I kind of like to present to you guys. And I try to like focus on areas where I see um, a lot of issues at. So a few weeks ago, probably a month and a half ago now, I did a live on how to start a box truck business plan, right? And then there's a lot of segments of a business plan that you have to do when you're outlining your business plan. And then one of the main things that I think a lot of people fail at is that market analysis. Market analysis. And the reason why I know that is because a lot of people that have come to me for coaching or just to ask questions or just making statements or whatever in the DM, they'll say something, but I can't find this in my area. I can't find that in my area, and then I'll ask where's your area? Where do you live at? And then they'll say like somewhere in the middle of nowhere, right? And that's where your market analysis comes in at when you're doing your business plan, because this is something that you should have known prior to you. And I'm talking about people that have already went out, bought their box truck, went and got their insurance, spent all the money that they needed to spend to get up and going. And then they think they can just, okay, boom, I got everything now. Now let me go do this. Let me go sign up for Amazon. Or let me go sign up for this logistics company. And then when they go to do it, there's nothing there because they live in the middle of Hicksville, Arkansas or something, or Boonesville, Nebraska, like population 500. Ain't nobody out there. So ain't nobody's building out there. There's no commercial anything out there because there's nothing out there, right? So then they hit me up like, man, the nearest so-and-so says it's 150 miles from me. What am I going to do? So this is what I'm going to talk about tonight. Low density versus high density, and how to determine, which lane to choose when you're starting your box truck business, because you need to choose this before you go out and do uh, everything that you need to do to run, as far as buying your truck, getting your insurance, getting your license. Man, you need to do this. You need to do your outline. This needs to be included in your outline before you even structure your business, before you even pay the state for your LLC or your corporation. You need to do your business plan first. And your market analysis is part of your business plan. All right. So real quick, I'm gonna go back through this roll call for everybody that's coming in, and then we're gonna get started. Atlanta in the building. What's good? Mark, Arkansas is in the building. What's going on? What's going on out there in Arkansas? Where was that at? Arkansas in the building. Cantrell Mosley. What's going on, Cantrell? Ain't seen you in the building in a minute. Ain't seen you in here in a minute. What's going on with you? Charlotte in the building. What's up, Norman? Daniel. Check out Mayor of Kingstown. Somebody told me about that. I'm gonna check that out. Daniel Allen, Birmingham, Alabama. Zupchuck is in the building. New York is in the building. Minneapolis in the building. Everybody in the building. Come on in, hit that like button, guys. Hit that like button. What we got. We got 25 in the building so far. It's going up, but them likes is still down. Likes is down. Like, let's get them likes up. Undo, hide overlay. Redo, hide overlay. Redo, resize. All right, let's get them likes up, guys. All right, without further ado, I'm finna jump into it though. Like I said, I want to get out of here. So, let's get them likes up. All right. Determining your box truck lane based on region, low density versus high density. All right. So I'm going to explain to y'all what low density is, high density, and how to determine your box truck lane. All right. Let's get into it. Everybody who's late, they're going to have to watch the replay. All right. So low density areas are usually low populated areas in small towns or rural areas that also do not have much commercial space nearby. All right. Like I said, mostly in rural areas. Rural means the middle of nowhere. All right. Small towns. All right. Small populations. Right. All right. So now let's check out high density. High density areas are typically urban areas. Right. The opposite of rural, with buildings that have a large number of units and large population of people. All right. Mostly urban cities, or even if you're in one of those states that doesn't have like a really big city, but you got like a big town, which is the town where kind of, all the business is taken care of. Urban cities, urban, big towns. New York is an urban city. Chicago is an urban city. Los Angeles, Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Miami. These are urban cities. Where else? Los Angeles, San Francisco, Phoenix, all right, Portland, Seattle. All these cities are urban cities. So high density areas are typically urban areas with buildings that have a large number of units and large population of people. Now, how is density measured? All right, 1 square mile in an area is equal to the area of a square mile with size of length equaling to 1 mile. Did I say that right? 1 square mile is an area equal to the area of a square with size of length 1 mile. All right. So a square mile is, and here's the thing about square miles. All right. Every city is going to be slightly different. All right. I can speak for my city for an example, and then your responsibility is to go check out the equation or the formula to calculate square miles in your town. Here, 8 city blocks is equal to a mile. All right. It ranges, from city to city. All right. So 8 city blocks is equal to 1 mile here. So a square mile would be 1 mile in a square. So if we started at the 0 point of my city, for everybody that's in Chicago, the 0 point where east meets west, right, is State and Madison, right? State divides east and west, Madison divides north and south, right? So a square mile. So if we go 8 blocks north of there, it's going to take us to State and Chicago, right? Chicago is 800 north. From State and Chicago, we're going to go 8 blocks west. We can't go 8 blocks east from where we're at because that's going to put us in Lake Mission. So if we go 8 blocks west is Halsted, right? Then we're going to come back 8 blocks down, which is going to put us at Madison. And then 8 blocks back east is going to put us back at State. So that's a square. That's 1 square mile because each line making a square is 8 city blocks, and 8 city blocks here is equal to a mile. All right. So that's the formula for miles and for a square mile in my city. All right. Every city's formula may be different. Like I said, my city is 8 city blocks is equal to 1 mile. So 1 mile times 4 is about 32 blocks, right? Density is measured by how many residents live within 1 square mile. All right. So just because I live in Chicago, and Chicago is the third largest city in the country, doesn't mean Chicago is going to be the third uh, in order as far as density is concerned, because it's the amount of people that live in 1 square mile on average. On average, and we're gonna look at the top 10 high density cities. We're gonna look at the low density cities, and then I'm gonna explain to y'all. I'm gonna explain to y'all how to determine, and it's really simple. That's why I said this is not gonna be that long. I don't understand why some people don't do this before they go invest all their money, and then they come to me or they go to somebody else and say, "Look, I got this truck, but there's nothing around me." You're supposed to know that already. All right. So density is measured by how many residents live within 1 square mile. All right. All right, the top most densely populated cities. Obviously, we're gonna know it's New York, because anybody that's been to New York, if you've seen New York on TV, if you heard about New York, no offense to you, Chuck, but people in New York live on top of each other. On top of each other. It's people sprawling everywhere in New York. There's just so many people in New York. They just all on top of each other. It's so many people that live in compact, really dense areas in New York. That's what makes them number one. Obviously, San Francisco is number two, right? And San Francisco, it's not as big as Houston. It's not as big as Chicago, but it comes in at number two as for high density, is because it's another city where people are just really compact, living on top of each other. They're really living on top of each other out there. I think San Francisco is number one, like as far as like gig work for like Uber drivers. I think like they make a killing out there because it's so many people living just so tightly that makes them the second highest in high density in the country. Third is going to be Jersey City, New Jersey. And these numbers that you see next to the city, that's how many residents live in 1 square mile. So, whatever the square mile formula is for these cities, that's how many people live in that 1 square mile radius. So in New York, you got about damn near 30,000 people live in a 1 square mile, as far as the average is concerned. All right, Jersey is going to be number three, Boston, Miami, Santa Ana, California. Chicago comes in at 7, Philly at 8, Newark, New Jersey at 9, Berkeley, California at 10. So New Jersey is in there a couple times, New York, California is in there a couple times. All right, so those are the top 10 high density cities. And I'm going to explain to you why these cities are important and what lane is probably the most important for these cities as well. All right. All right. The 10 least densely populated U.S. cities. All right. Least dense mean low population, just low industry, low resources, not much going on. Not much going on. You got Anchorage, Alaska. It's about 169 people on average for every square mile. All right. 169 people. You probably got buildings in New York and buildings in Chicago, buildings in Los Angeles that have 10 times the amount of people that live in the building than Anchorage, Atlanta has in a square mile. All right. So that should let you know that, how, low density that city, that area is. Buckeye, Arizona, Suffolk, Virginia. Not a lot going on in Virginia. Carson City, Nevada, not a lot going on in Nevada. That part of Nevada. Goodyear, Arizona. Casa Grande, Arizona. I got a homie that just moved to Casa Grande, Arizona. Augusta, Georgia. I'm sorry. Norman, Oklahoma. Port Arthur, Texas. That's right by Fort Worth, I believe. That's where UGK is from. Northport, Florida. All right. So these are the least densely populated U.S. cities. All right. All right. In certain states, 90% of the population live in urban areas. Now, if you look at this chart, the darker the green, the more people live in urban areas. The lighter the green, the less people live in urban areas, which makes those states less dense. Where you see the greener it gets, the more dense it is, the higher density. All right. Remember what I'm saying, because we're going to get into this. The last slide is when I'm going to really break all this down and get into the nitty gritty. For those that came in late, you missed a big portion of me explaining about what we're going to get into. So you may want to watch the replay, or you may want to scroll back and just be a little bit behind so you can understand what I'm about to explain when we get into these three lanes. All right. So these are states where are the darker the green, the more dense the state is. The lighter the green, the less dense, all right, the state is. All right. All right. Now let's get into this, man. Let's get into this. Shout out to everybody that's coming in the building. Like I said, if you missed the first whatever how many minutes I was on, you got to start over. All right. So it's 3 lanes for box trucking. 3 lanes. All right. Not that many lanes in box trucking like you do if you're running a semi truck. You got Amazon Relay, right? We're giving Amazon a lane of its own. All right. Amazon has a lane of its own because it's Amazon. I know that'll make a lot of people feel good. It's a lot of people that love Amazon. All right. You got Final Mile. All right. That's my lane. That's the lane that I made my bones in. Hit that like button too, guys. Come on in, hit that like button. If you came in, make sure you hit that like button. Hit that like button for me, man, so it can get out into the algorithm. All right. All right. So you got Final Mile, and then you got Middle Mile. Middle Mile is for you guys that go over the road. All right. Now, I just put those logistics companies in there just, for, aesthetic purposes. Same thing for me putting those brokerage firms in for middle mile, not speaking on just for aesthetic purposes. All right. So you got Amazon, you got Final Mile, you got Middle Mile. All right. Let's talk about low density areas. Shout out to everybody that came in. Make sure you guys start from the beginning if you came in late, so you can understand where we're going with this, because I broke square miles down. I gave the formula for square miles. You got to understand what a square mile is. You got to know what the formula for square mile is. You got to know the formula in your city, your town, your whatever you live in, whether you live in a high density area, low density area, urban setting or rural setting. You need to know what the formula is for a square mile. All right. So you might want to go back and watch that when you get a chance so you'll understand this. All right. So you got 3 lanes: Amazon, Final Mile, Middle Mile. All right. Let's start with low density. Low density, like I said, rural areas, very low population on average per square mile. Low density, rural, per square mile. Two of these lanes are not going to work for you. They're not going to work for you. Amazon is not going to work for you if you live in a low density area for a few reasons. One, there may not be an Amazon in your area, depending on how low dense your area is. Now, if you're just in a small town, all right, you're in a small town, there may be an Amazon. You're in a small town, population, maybe 20,000 people. There may be an Amazon nearby. But if you're way out in the boondocks in Hicksville, Arkansas, or Boomstown, Nebraska, somewhere out in the sticks where, your nearest neighbor is a mile away, there's not going to be an Amazon. There's not going to be a 3PL. There's not going to be a logistics company near you. All right. Amazon doesn't even deal in low density areas as far as Final Mile. They don't run DSP in very low dense areas. Who do they rely on to handle their deliveries in very low dense areas? They rely on UPS and they rely on USPS, the United States Postal Service. All right. Very, 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 very low dense areas, like some of the ones that we saw in this slide right here. These low dense areas, 9 times out of 10, there's probably not an Amazon. If there's only 169 people per square mile, it's not worth them putting a 1,000,000 square foot or a fulfillment center when there's only 169 people on average for every square mile. There's probably more than 169 people in my condo building. It's 93 units in my building. All right, it's 93 units, so I'm sure it's more than 169 people here. Most people that live in my building are married couples, stuff like that. I'm probably one of the only people who lives alone, all right? But here in this place in Anchorage, Alaska, it's only 169 people on average for every square mile. So if you're looking to get into the box truck business and you're doing your business plan, what you should do before you do anything, before you even structure your business, before you go get your LLC, before you go get your EIN, before you even look at a truck, before you even go on Commercial Truck Trader and start looking at trucks to buy and pricing them out, you should create a business plan. Part of your business plan should be your market analysis. And within your market analysis, you need to be figuring out, do you live in a low density or a high density area, so you can determine ultimately what lane to run. All right. So if you live in a very low dense area, Amazon is probably not going to work for you. Even if your area is in between low and high density, and let's say there's an Amazon there, 9 times out of 10, the pay is not going to be adequate. You're going to be complaining like the people listen, there's people that run Amazon that live in very high density areas, New York, Chicago, LA, and they're complaining. All right. If you live in a low density area, the population is low, the cost of living is a lot lower. So the pay scale is going to be a lot lower. All right. All right. The pay scale. So your cost of living may be a lot lower, but the cost to operate your vehicle is going to be similar to the same of people that are more high density areas. Right. A Freightliner is a Freightliner, no matter if it's in New York, California, or Chicago. The fuel the cost of fuel may change, not too significantly. It may change, a little bit, right? But ultimately, from what I'm seeing, rates are pretty much not consistent as far as, if you call this Penske or that Penske, the rates may fluctuate per mile, right? And per week, but they're still high as all outdoors. All right. They're still high as all outdoors. So Amazon may not be for you if you live in a real low density area and there happens to be an Amazon within, let's say, 50 miles from you. I have some people that I talk to, that I coach, that live in low density areas that Amazon are nearby because they're not really at the bottom of low density, and they complain. There's no volume. There's no volume because it's not a lot of people, right? Final Mile, same situation. A lot of people went out and bought trucks and didn't do the research and didn't do a market analysis for their, or did a business plan, just period. So they don't have a market analysis because they didn't do a business plan, right? So Final Mile is not going to work for you either if you're in a low dense area. Why? Because 9 times out of 10, the nearest third party logistics company is going to be closer to the higher density area, the more populated area, right? There's routes when you run Final Mile, right, that go to the low density areas and deliver. Some of these routes are overnight routes where, the route pays a lot more than the local routes because you may have to drive 2 or 3 hours and out. There's routes here that come out of Chicago, right? Out of Elk Grove Village, out of Wooddale, out of Addison, that may go down to Mokina, not Mokina, but what's that state? May go down to not Racine. What is that? There are some routes that go up. We got some routes from here that go to Indianapolis. So from Chicago to Indianapolis that cross state lines because Indianapolis is lacking on providers. They're aggressively hiring. JB Hunt is hiring out of Chicago to service Indianapolis for Final Mile, for Lowe's. All right, as we speak, right? There's other places downstate Illinois that the routes come from up here because there's no third-party logistics companies down there. So these are overnight routes where you got to drive 2 hours downstate, right? And you got to run your route, and then when you get down there, it's not dense like it is up here. I've had routes up here in Chicago where the whole route, 10 to 15 stops, may be less than 10 miles. Once you get to the route, it's less than 10 miles. Because it's so much volume in this city, right? Because this is a high density city that the routes are very compact. You go out to an overnight route where you may be going downstate. Let's say you may be going down to Mount Vernon, Illinois. You have to drive 3 hours down there. And then you may have one stop in Mount Vernon. You might have one stop in Centralia, which is the town over. You may have 2 stops in Carbondale, right? On the way down there, you may have to stop in Champaign. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't have these companies down there. So your route may span, once you get down there, your route may be another 100 miles because you're just hitting all these small towns and one person may have bought something in that town. All right. So those low density areas, when they are serviced, when they do go online and shop online, the provider that's coming to actually do the delivery is coming from a high density area. And they're just being compensated for the drive. All right. But you have to look at it from a business owner standpoint. All right. Me buying something living in a low density area is different from me starting a business in a low density area. So if you're in a low density area and you really want to make it work and you really want to do final mile Amazon, you may have to drive 100, 150 miles. I talked to somebody 2 months ago that went and spent all this money on their truck and then started to go look for work and hit me up like, man, Mark, the nearest Amazon is 80 miles from where I live. You know what the question I had for her? Well, you didn't know that before you went out and bought all this stuff? No, I didn't think to look at it. I just thought Amazon was everywhere. Yeah, they deliver everywhere, but that doesn't mean that they're actually doing the deliveries. Once again, Amazon doesn't do deliveries in very, very, very low density areas. This is where they rely on UPS and the United States Postal Service, because the United States Postal Service and UPS have a bigger footprint, right? They have a bigger footprint than Amazon when it comes to last mile delivery. So if you're in a very low density area and you're one of the smart people that start your business with a business plan and you did your market analysis, the only option you really have is middle mile, over the road. That's where you're going to make your money at, right? Because there's nothing near you unless you're going to drive 100, 150 miles every day into the nearest town to go run a 3PL route, which may take you 50 miles in another direction, right? To do that route. And then you got to drive 3 hours back home, which puts you out of 150 air miles. Now you got to run an EDL, which means you're not going to go home because your route may be 10 hours. Doesn't make sense to do Amazon because you're driving an hour, 2, 3 hours to get to Amazon to make about $300. Doesn't make sense, right? So if you're in a low density area, the only option that you have is pretty much over the road middle mile, because that can take you anywhere. It can take you anywhere. So this is where a market analysis comes in, all right? High density areas. You know, being in a high density area, living in a high density area is, I guess it's a perk. You know, there's a lot of perks to living in high density areas. If you in trucking, that means you have an option. You can choose pretty much any lane you want. I think if you live in a high density area, you can make a lot of money locally and not have to go over the road. Another perk. Whereas the person that lives in a low density area, they're forced to go over the road because they don't have the resources that a person who lives in a high density area has. You have 3PLs, you have a multitude of Amazons. If you're in a city where it's industrial, there's plenty of volume because things are being built. If you're in Detroit, that's an auto manufacturer, you got auto parts. If you're here in Chicago, we got the number one for the railroad for intermodal, right? We manufacture a lot of things here in the Midwest, right? It's plenty of options so that you can stay local. If you're in New York, you're in Chicago, you're in Houston, you're in LA, you can do final mile. You can run final mile because once you get to your route, your route may be all of 10 to 15 miles. If you're in New York, you will have a very compact route. It's 9 million some odd people living in the city of New York that are buying things. That's a multitude of routes that can be optimized very tightly. Same thing with Chicago. Same thing with Houston. Same thing with LA. Same thing with maybe Atlanta. Now, as the cities, as some of these cities start to get, smaller in population, that density, even though they're considered high density, that density as far as, your routes, the optimization of your routes, or how tight knit they are, how close the stops may start to spread. The higher the density of the city, the routes will be real, real tight. All right. That's final mile for a high density. Amazon, same thing. Multitude of post offices. A city like Chicago, New York, right? LA, every single zip code has their own post office. It's not like that, probably for some of these rural areas. Like one town may have to service, one post office may service the whole county, and there may be 2 or 3 towns in that county, let's say, right? Whereas if you're in a larger city, let's say you're running Amazon, you're running overnight, and you're dropping off post office. If you get lucky, you get an urban route, and they don't send you out to the sticks, because I know sometimes they'll send you out to the sticks and some of those, rural areas. If you get one of those lucky, let's say you're running Amazon here and you get 6 post office stops at night, your route may be all 5 miles, because every zip code here has a post office. Every single zip code in my city has their own post office. That's a luxury, right? And then as far as over the road, if you decide that you want to go over the road, you live in a high density area, then that's your choice as well. But you have a luxury that a person who is looking to start a box truck business doesn't have if they live in a very low dense area. You can make a shit ton of money and not have to leave home. A lot of money. If you're in a high density area, you can make just as much money or more locally, right, than a person with a box truck going over the road. Why? Because the volume is there. The workload is there because of the population. The resources are there. The structure is there, right? Companies are there. They service those rural areas, but they service them out of high dense areas. They build in the high dense area because that's where most of the business is at. So that's where they want to be close to. And then from there, they will service those low density areas. But as a business owner, once again, I'm going to repeat myself. You got to look at it different. You can't look at it, okay, if you're a consumer and I live in Saxville, Montana, right? And I order things on Amazon, right? I always wondering why my sister or my cousin who lives in Chicago or my cousin who lives in New York, they say something about, man, same day Amazon delivery. My cousin who lives in Chicago, my cousin who lives in New York, they said they ordered a mouse, an Apple mouse, right off an Amazon at 6 in the morning, and they said it was at their doorstep by 10. It takes 3 days for me to get something from Amazon here. You know why? Because there's no DSPs. There's no fulfillment center. There's no same day fulfillment centers there. So when you order something off of Amazon in one of these low dense areas where Amazon is not prevalent, or they don't even have anything set up because they're relying on USPS and UPS in those areas, it has to go through the USPS and UPS system. So they don't have those perks like you do here. I order something right now. If it can be delivered by midnight, it will be. Otherwise, it'll be delivered sometime between 4 and 7 a.m. in the morning, right? Because we have Amazon sort stations, you have fulfillment centers, we have Amazon facilities here that are just same day facilities. There's a same day facility in Skokie. There's a same day facility in Country Club Hills, where those facilities only deal with same day. The whole facility deal with same day. So in a high dense area, they cater even their facilities to the volume. These are things that you have to know when you're deciding that you want to do your business. You can't go out and say you're going to start a business, and then once you go get all this stuff, and now I go apply. I heard this guy, Mark Demetrius, say, T-Force, I want to deliver furniture, because I saw the guy come on and say about $210,000 a year. All right, what was that? Cardinal Logistics. Whoa, there's one in my state, but it's 200 miles away. It's in town. It's by the town. Wherever the town is. You know how people that live in the middle of nowhere, they always call it a big city. You got to drive into town. Yeah, the town may be 200 miles away. It's even the same with gig work. That same young lady that hit me up a few months ago that went out and bought all this stuff, right? And she was like, man, there's nothing near me. There's no Amazon. I didn't know this. And I was explaining to her, like, you're supposed to know this before you went and did all this. So I told her about the gig opportunity. So she signed up to these gig opportunities. And guess what? A lot of the gigs weren't even operating in her town. She had to drive 80 miles just to do gig work. So she invested all that money for nothing. I think she lived down in Connecticut, somewhere in Connecticut. The nearest place she had to go was Hartford, Connecticut. And I think that was like 100 miles from where she lived at. And Hartford, Connecticut, right? It doesn't really have that much. It's a city, right? But in comparison to New York, Chicago, LA, this city, that city, with the money that she invested, right, to get that business started, it wasn't worth it still. So her only option was OTR, and she didn't want to do OTR. You see what I'm saying? So these are things that you have to know. And I know a lot of the vets that are probably in here watching this stuff is probably you guys are, well on your way. But, for someone who's watching this, who's looking to get into the business, or, someone who may watch the replay of this a day from now, a month from now, a year from now, 10 years from now, whatever. This is something that, you need to really focus on when you're creating your business plan. Your market analysis, you can't skip over it, all right? Especially if you're one of those guys that live in a low dense area that's hell bent on not going over the road, because that may be your only option. You don't have the luxury as, people who live in high density areas have, all right? So that's pretty much in a nutshell, you know what I'm saying? It's not really complicated. You just have to know your market. Big market, plenty of opportunity. Small market, little opportunity, in some cases, no opportunity. Do your research. Go back, if you came in late, to how I told you how density is measured. So how do you measure density as far as the formula? Look up the formula of how many blocks in your city, right, equals to a mile, and then you're going to create a square. So if it's 8 city blocks like it is here, is a mile, then you're going to have 8 city blocks going north. This way, 8 city blocks, 8 city blocks, 8 city blocks. That's going to equal you 1 square mile, right? And then look up to see how many people are in that square mile, right? And then that will determine how high or how low you are as far as the density. And then start doing research on these different lanes to see, listen, I'm in a city where the density is very low. Mark was right, man. It ain't even no Amazon in town. The nearest XPO is 60, 70 miles away. All right. So how to measure the density? What is high density? What is low density? So if you came in late, make sure you go and check that out. All right. All right, we're going to do a quick Q&A. Shout out to everybody that came in. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Come on in. Come on in. Lance Dillon says, I'll be rich if Amazon let me book round trip loads. I'm surrounded by fulfillment centers. Where are you at, Lance? What city do you live in? Zupchuck says, if you're in the tri-state area, check your share of your good money. What is that? Oh, your good money. Yeah, if you live in the tri-state area, what's the tri-state? New York, New Jersey, and what's the other place? Yeah, anywhere up there by New York, man, y'all just living on top of each other. It's just so many of y'all. It's a lot of, listen, it's gig workers in New York. And I'm not talking about the Uber drivers. Uber drivers make over $100,000 here. You got Uber drivers here making $120,000, $150,000 a year. All right. In New York, there's bicycle messengers, like the people that deliver food that are checking 6 figures. All right. It's just a lot of opportunity out there in New York. And there's a lot of obstacles that New Yorkers that are in the logistics industry, whether it's even on the smaller scale. I consider like gig, like food delivery, they're delivering. I consider that logistics. It's on a smaller scale, not a lot of, startup costs, right? But the obstacles they have to deliver through, the cost of living out there, the pay scale, and the demand is high out there. It just goes back to what we were talking about last week. Supply and demand. When I say, man, stop listening to these people on the internet that say these silly things that, these freight rates are determined by what people take. Stop taking cheap freight, guys, so the rates can go up. Stop taking cheap freight. When people say that, they lack knowledge. They lack knowledge, right? The industry is based off supply and demand. Same thing with this. The reason why those gig workers out there make so much money, and I'm talking about the food delivery guys, the DoorDash guys, the Uber Eats guys, Grubhub, all that, right? It's because there's a lot of demand. So the rates go up. Supply and demand. All right. So yeah, tri-state area is good money. Good money out there in the tri-state area. I was hoping to start doing gigs and contracts. Yeah, depending on where you at. Where you at? I live in South Bend and drive to Chicago. Okay, so South Bend is about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 hours, 30 minutes outside of Chicago and Indiana, right? He's in a low density area. But South Bend, that's Notre Dame, right? Notre Dame is in South Bend, right? So even though that's a college town, it's better for Daniel to drive that hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes, whatever it is, from South Bend to Chicago, because not only does he have access to a high density area with population, he has access. An hour and a half drive gets him to the third largest city in the country. All right. So yes, it's worth him to drive from South Bend to come up to Chicago. Yeah, so it's upset. Yeah, the food guys up in that tri-state area, they killing it. I'm going to a T-Force warehouse tomorrow. Who should I ask to talk to about info and find them out? When you go, make sure you bring your articles of incorporation, because if you're going to take a trip, make sure you make the trip worth it. Apply while you're there. Make sure you bring your articles of incorporation. Make sure you bring your SS4 form. Make sure you bring your DOT, your MC, all your paperwork, right? Ask to say you want to on board as a carrier for a 26-foot box truck, right? And then they'll give you an application to fill out. You can ask. Usually there's someone at the front desk. They'll just give you a clipboard with the application. If not, you can ask to speak to an ops manager or the branch manager. All right, the ops manager or the branch manager at T-Force, and say you want to onboard as a 26-foot box truck owner operator. Unless ask for them, but normally at T-Force there's a front desk person, and they'll probably have a clipboard for you to onboard. But still ask, because you may be able to get some FaceTime with one of them if they're not busy. Let me see. Do you have to have an ELD when running final mile? So if you're running within the 150 air miles, then no. If you go beyond those 150 air miles, then yes. All right, 150 air miles, which is 150 miles in a radius from your point of origin. All right. Now, if you're going on one of those overnight final mile runs where you're traveling more than 150 miles outside of your origin, right? Then yes, you're going to have to run an ELD, because you're going outside 150 miles and your route is going to be 10 hours, and then you're going to have to drive back. So yes, you're going to have to run the ELD. But if you're within 150 mile radius, then no, you're local. Kevin Poole, what's going on? What companies do you think I should look into for freight with a 26-foot box truck? I'm in California. If you're trying to do final mile, any type of final mile, I would say my go-tos. First, you want to probably try to do something if you want that's one man. If that's the case, you want to look at T-Force. They got a Home Depot contract that's one man. You want to look at that. You want to look at RXO. If you want to look at like big and bulky thing, you can still look at those two companies, and you can add NAL, Pilot, Seva, JB Hunt, Final Mile, Pilot, NAL. Werner has a Final Mile division now. Cardinal Logistics. There's a plethora. If you go look at one of my last lives, I give you a list of them. Actually, I'm going to put a list together for all my MGM. Shout out to everybody that's in the Mentor Gang. Shout out to all my Mentor Gang members that's in the building, that's members to the channel. Salute to y'all. So in the members area, I'm going to put a list out one day this week of all the logistics companies. I actually did a top 10 live stream the other day where I ranked my top 10 logistics companies. I'm gonna do that twice a year, so you can go back and look at that live as well, and that'll give you 10 companies. Dane say you'll be there. Oh, you be in Chicago in the morning? That's what's up. Also, you gave me so much hope that day I came on your live, man. That's what I'm here for, man. I'm here to help out, man. Nothing more, nothing less. Just here to help. Yeah, I'm hitting T-Force tomorrow morning, 2 here in Detroit. Yeah, shout out to everybody that's been hitting me up in the emails, asking me, about, what direction and companies, So shout out to all y'all. Interscrape Screw, I know you emailed me the other day, so I emailed you back too. So can I run Final Mile using my 6x12? You talking about a 6x12 utility trailer? No, absolutely not. You're not gonna be able to. Somebody else asked me that too. In 14 years, I've never seen an account that will allow that a 6x12, a 7x14, an 8x20 trailer. The reason I know the size is because I've had some in the past, and I also had a dump trailer that are gonna let you run with the utility trailer. One, it's just not adequate. You can't back a utility trailer into a dock. It's not dock high. When you go to T-Force in the morning, you got to back into the dock to load your truck. You can't back a utility trailer, a 6x12, into a dock. It's not dock high. That's probably the main reason. And then two, it's just not big enough. Some of these routes are 10 stops, 12 stops, 13, 14, 15 stops. All right. You can't put a lot on a 6x12. Three, rather, it's going to take too long to play play Tetris in that thing. But the biggest thing is it's not dock high. It's not adequate for this type of work. A 6x12 utility trailer, if you're looking to do something in logistics to kind of start and get your feet wet, I think a 6x12 utility trailer would be good if you're looking to start like a moving company, do some side moving gigs, get your feet wet in that to see if you want to go full-fledged and buy a box truck. You can do hustle gigs with a utility trailer doing moves. I see guys out here doing moves with utility trailer. It's more difficult getting down some of those city blocks. I don't know where you live, but if you live in a highly populated, high density area like New York, Chicago, LA, and you got to move somebody on a city block, and it's a narrow city block, it's going to be kind of hard to double park that thing. You can't parallel park that thing because you're not going to have the room really to parallel park it. It's just awkward. I've pulled trailers with my pickup truck, and you can get into some tough situations with a trailer that may be hard to get out of. So you have to be very mindful if you're looking to get into something where you're doing like moving or delivery. You can't do deliveries with it because no third party logistics company is going to let you. But even with the move, and if that's a route you decide to take, you have to be very careful because you'll get into some situations where it'll be hard to get out of with that trailer. But no, not with a 6x12 can you do final mile. No. Why Amazon don't book round trips? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't do Amazon, but an educated guess, I don't even want to make that educated guess. I don't even want to make that educated guess. I don't know. That's how they run things. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why they don't. Would you start your ELD from South Bend or when you enter Chicago? Daniel, what are you doing? Are you running final mile, or did I see you ran gigs? What do you actually do? What lane do you run? And how many miles is South Bend from Chicago? I know it's about an hour and a half. How many miles is that? Like 70 miles? Can I run final mile using my 6x2? I think I answered that one. He asked it twice. Do you have any information or have experience working with Road Runner? I'm in the Metro Atlanta area. The only experience I have with Road Runner is them delivering to my warehouse. That's it. So me receiving and doing reverse logistics, putting freight back on their trucks from my warehouse and pulling freight from their trucks into my warehouse when I was when I was cross docking. That's the only experience I had with Roadrunner. Now, what I can tell you with Roadrunner though, since we on the topic, their handling of freight that I would receive to my facility was not always the best. Between Roadrunner and Holland, it seemed like anything that came off a Holland truck was just beat to hell. So I don't know what goes on with Holland as far as when they, load and unload and move freight around from warehouse to warehouse, from truck to truck, or however they do it. But Holland and Roadrunner, right? And YRC. It's like, man, when I seen a YRC truck pulling up, YRC and Holland is like under the same umbrella. And a Roadrunner truck, so YRC, Holland, and Roadrunner. Man, dude, stuff would just be beat all to hell. Yeah, so that's my experience with Roadrunner, Akeem. That would be awesome, bro. We could all appreciate that, I'm sure of it. Will this be saved on YouTube so we can play it back in case we missed something? Yeah, so if you came in late, yeah, you can watch the replay on YouTube. It's probably best that you watch the replay so that you can see how I started, because I broke down low density, I broke down high density. I explained the formula, how to determine a square mile, right? Because that's something that you need to put in your market analysis when you create your business plan. And then I got into the 3 lanes of box trucking, which is final mile, middle mile, and I gave Amazon its own lane. Amazon deserves its own lane, because it's unique. Like somebody just asked me, how come they don't do round trips? It's a unique setup. You go, you do some post office drop offs, right, and then you deadhead back to wherever you came from, right? Or you go from facility to facility. But speaking on that, that's something I should have mentioned too when I was actually doing the presentation, when I was talking about Amazon. You know why Amazon drops off at the post office? Because most of that stuff that goes to the post office, a lot of that stuff goes to the low density areas. All right, a lot of that stuff goes to the low density areas. If you've been buying from Amazon for some years, let's say 6 or 7 years, before their network was built to where it is now, as far as even in the urban high density areas, right? They were relying on UPS, FedEx, and United States Postal Service. But in 2019, FedEx said, no, we out of this thing. This ain't worth it. It's not enough money. We straight. We're walking away, right? But even still then, even in high density areas, I would order things and get them through the mail, right? They wouldn't come through a DSP, right? Because the network wasn't that big at that time. It's, if I order something small, like my dread stocking cap that I sleep in, normally when I order like dread caps, like stocking caps to sleep in, normally those would come in the mail, right? But lately they've been coming by either a DSP provider or a flex provider, all right? But if you notice, like, because I was watching a Big Vic video where he talked about he did a contract and he was complaining because they sent them way out into the sticks, and that's why he was mad. He was dropping off at post offices way out in the sticks. Why? Because those post offices service low density areas, right? So they have those Amazon guys drive way out there into the sticks, right, to drop off at these post offices, and then the letter carriers will drop those packages off, because Amazon doesn't service those areas because they're low dense. The low density areas is just not enough volume for them to build a 1 million square foot warehouse to serve a small population in a low density area. So then they have, the Amazon relay guys drive 150, 200 miles out into, like he said, the mountains where they gave them the bird and there wasn't no black people out there or whatever, because now he's dropping off at those post offices, and those post offices will distribute those individual pieces to the residents that live in those areas. So for final mile, how do you work out the insurance with adding a rental truck to your fleet? I have my own truck already, but peak is next month, and they asked if I could add it. You got to contact your broker. So once you rent the truck, you contact your broker. Your broker, he's going to ask you for the specs of the truck. Broker is going to contact the insurance company. They're going to give them a rate quote. The broker is going to contact you with the rate quote. You're going to say yay or nay. You're going to probably say yay. They're going to write it up. They're going to add it to your policy, and it's going to reflect in your next month's bill. Simple as that. Simple as that. Oh, and then you're going to have to add another driver too. Because if you already got trucks on your policy, you're going to have to add a driver. You know, some people want to add a bunch of trucks, and then they'll be like, well, man, you got to add a driver. You can't have 5 trucks and 1 driver. So, you know, you're going to have to add a driver too. So, and then you're going to have to submit that driver information because they're going to run the MVR and all that stuff. So, that's how it goes. Appreciate the email back. No problem. Yeah, you can email me personally. Mark@thementormark.com. Mark@thementormark.com. I just put it in the chat. If I don't get back to you right away, then just be patient, you know, because I get a lot of emails, I get a lot of DMs, you know, so, you know, I caught up on everything this weekend, though, so. I caught up on everything this weekend, so. Yeah, I don't have no problem with you emailing me. That's what the email is for, to send and receive emails. Can I make more money doing only gig apps versus a contract with a cargo van? I live in Minneapolis. You know, that's a decent market. But I don't, you know, I can't, you know, I don't know, man. Minneapolis is a tough market, man. I know, like right now, y'all got all that snow. I heard y'all just got hit again, I think, right? So in times like this, you can make a killing with the gigs, right? Because the supply is low and the demand is high because people aren't leaving the house. A lot of the gig workers that would normally do, you know, provide service to gigs are probably not providing service for whatever reason. They drive a Toyota Prius and they don't want to get stuck in the snow. They don't have a pickup truck, whatever the case may be. The demand goes up when the weather gets bad. Supply goes down because not everybody can meet the needs of the weather as far as their, you know, their asset of how they make the money, their vehicle, right? So in situations like that, yeah. Whereas you get a cargo van, a dedicated cargo van route, whether it's sunny and 90 degrees or it's you get 21 inches of snow, your rate is your rate. It's not gonna fluctuate, you know, based off, you know, supply and demand. It's your rate. You got to it's consistent, dedicated work at a fixed rate. So, you know, if something is altering the market because like it's bad weather, right? And the demand is high, right? And the supply is low because people don't want to drive in that weather, whatever the case may be, the gig worker is going to come out ahead in that scenario. You know what I'm saying? Whereas you're at a fixed rate, right? Because you're running a dedicated run in your cargo van. So I think in your market, it kind of varies because you have a weather element that's at stake there. But I don't know, man. That's a good question as far as Minneapolis is concerned. But what I would tell you to do is if you got a cargo van, if I were you, I would get a dedicated route for the first half of the day, right? And then I would run gigs the second half of the day. If you go to T-Force or Waco or let's say Capstone, whatever's up there in your market, you get a dedicated route. Your loadout is about 5:30. You should be able to complete that route depending on where your route is at by 2:30, right? You still got 4 or 5 more hours if you want to get money. And then that's when you can turn to Amazon Flex. Go get you a block over there. You can check out Roadie. You can check out Curry. You can check out GoShare, right? And there's other apps you can check out as well. Now, if those apps ain't really hitting on nothing up there, then you already know Amazon Flex is. They're gonna have blocks all day long, whether it's grocery for Amazon Fresh or Whole Foods, or if it's packages to deliver to consumers' residences. So I would do both. I would definitely get a dedicated route because that's going to give you that assurance, right? That you have something Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday, whatever it is the contract entails. It's going to give you that assurance that you have something, and then you supplement that with your gig work. the second half of the day. That's how I would set it up if I was running the cargo, man. Lance Dillon, no problem, no problem. 96 miles from South Bend to Chicago, and I run loads for the DAT. Yeah, so you gotta turn that thing on. The moment you get in your truck, you gotta turn that thing on. If I use the utility trailer to do small moves and side jobs, do you recommend I get commercial insurance for that? If you're doing gig work, you're hustling. All right, let's just keep it funky. We're gonna call it spade a spinade. You dig? If you're doing gig work, you're hustling. So that's kind of up to you. But if you're hustling, I hope, for a greater cause to go and get full-fledged license. So me personally, if I'm hustling, let's say back to my hustling days when I first got started in my pickup truck, right? I thought about getting a utility trailer, but I ultimately, after a year, the next year, I hustled in my pickup truck, and then I looked at a utility trailer because I saw how cheap they were. I can get a 6x12, a 6x12 enclosed trailer back then was going for $2,300, $2,500, right? So I was looking at a utility trailer, but then I also looked at the maneuvering of that trailer in Chicago on the north side, coming down those one-way streets, not being able to park that thing, having to back that thing up, the trailer swinging, having to back it up a whole city. I've had to back 26 footers, 16 and 26 footers up a whole city block. You know, sometimes it can get ugly like that. You never know what might happen. An accident might happen in front of you. Something might go in front of you where you got to back up. Now, if you got to back a trailer up a whole block, I've had deliveries where people lived in. I remember I moved somebody to going out towards your way, Daniel. Not out that way to South Bend, but going that way up to like Michigan Beach, Indiana, Michigan Beach, Michigan, Indiana, Michigan, right there on the border. Michigan Beach is somebody lake house from Chicago. They had a lake house up there, and they lake house was on the hill, and I had to go up the hill, and I was pulling a trailer because I didn't want to send one of my trucks because it was a dresser. So I went and did that job myself. All right, I had a U-Haul dealership at my yard, so I grabbed the 6x12, hitched it on to the back of my Silverado, and I pulled that up there because it was just more efficient to do it. I took my brother, me and him ran that up there for the lady. I charged her $750 to do that little 50-mile run. It is what it is. But when we got there, she lived on a hill, and I got a trailer, and she didn't have a turnaround once I got up that hill. So I had to back down the hill with a 6x12 trailer on a lake house. So it's like a narrow road, a hill going down to the lake. Her house is up here on the hill, and I had to back that. I got the big Silverado, so that big truck with that 6x12 empty trailer, back down that hill, right, in a straight line. And then once I got down, I had to turn back onto the road. That's not easy. That takes skill. Similar to driving a rig with a trailer. You know what I'm saying? But you may get into situations like that. I don't know where you live. If you live in a rural area where it's just plenty of room to do these things, then I say go for it. I wouldn't get commercial. You hustling, you thugging it out. So thug it out until you get something better. You want to save as much money as you can, because here's the thing. You're running an unlicensed, unsanctioned moving business anyway. So what's the sense of getting the commercial insurance if you're running under the radar? If you get caught running an unlicensed moving company, it's worse than getting caught running an unlicensed truck, running your truck without a DOT. Running an unlicensed household goods moving company is worse than getting caught by the DOT running freight. Ask me how I know. The whole reason why I originally went and got licensed the moving company is because I started my business the same way in 2010. I was running under the radar. I didn't know no better. I didn't know there was a such thing. I didn't know it was regulated like that. All right. My state regulates it with the Illinois Commerce Commission, right? And then it's regulated on a federal level as well. All right. So, when you're running household goods, you're dealing with people's personal property. It's not like running General Commodities. General Commodities has never reached its end consumer. There's no personal attachment to it. When you're going into someone's home and you're loading up their personal valuables, you could be loading up their safes. They might have jewelry in their safe, heirlooms, things that have been passed down from generation to generation. There's an emotional attachment there. These are people's personal belongings. You're loading them into a truck, and then you're driving, and you've been entrusted with getting these things from point A to point B. The federal government looks at that much more serious, and the fines are a lot more harsh. All right. When I first got caught, which forced me to go get the license, right? I got caught up in a sting because remember back then I was running off Craigslist. I didn't know any better. And what they would do is every moving season, this is what they do. And they do this all over the country. So you got to be careful. I'm not saying you don't do it. Every successful moving company, if you go look at their history, they start the same way. 2 Men in the Truck started the same way. I think up in Michigan doing just side moves. I think at Michigan State, if I'm not mistaken. All these large moving companies, some of the bigger moving companies here in my market, New City Moving, Coffee Brothers Moving, they all started the same way. All right. What happens is they'll do a sting, right, around moving season. It's usually the last week of April, first week of May, because that really commences the beginning of moving season, right? They'll do a sting. They'll go on Craigslist. They'll schedule a bunch of moves. Boom. And when you get there, it's usually a dead-end street, right? Because now you ain't got nowhere to go. Somebody will be outside. Yeah, you're here to move Sam? Yeah, Sam. All right, hold on. I'm finna go upstairs to get my wife. Next thing you know, you got police cars surrounding you. All right. And then they give you like a $700, $800 ticket. So I'm telling you this information so that you know what you're up against. I'm probably one of the few people that's going to always keep it funky with you. I'm going to tell you, yeah, you can do that, but I'm also going to give you, the risk that you're taking as well. You know what I'm saying? But starting like that is a good way to learn the business. Just make sure once you learn the business, if this is something you vehemently want to do, you know what I'm saying, after you really learn the business, start working towards getting your license, because you don't want to get caught up in one of them stings if you don't want to pay one of those large fines. They have very hefty fines, and ultimately if they catch you once, so $750, second time it's $1,000, third time they take the truck. All right. So yeah. So I wouldn't do it. I would just run it, hustle it, save up your money, and go get licensed. All right. Hey, Mark, is it profitable to hire somebody to do Sprinter box routes if renting a truck? I think if it's your first Sprinter, no. I think you're gonna need about three of them things before you come off of that thing. Maybe 4 in a Sprinter van. But one Sprinter van, the margin is very low to begin with. If you're running a dedicated cargo route, Sprinter van route, local, your gross potential is somewhere between $225 and $425 for a route, depending on the volume and your per piece, because those cargo van routes, you're getting paid on a per piece count, right? So if you get a route that doesn't have the volume of the pieces, you're losing money. Okay, let's say you do get the pieces and it's a $400 route. What are you gonna pay your driver? You gotta pay your driver at least $150. All right, you pay your driver at least $150. That's leaving you with $250. You calculating, you averaging in your fixed cost as far as your cargo van, your fuel, and all of the other things. You may make $100, somewhere between $50 to $100, let's say, maybe. All right. So is it really worth it to put somebody out there to make $50 to $100? It may. To you, it may. If you can make $100 5 days a week, it's an extra $500. But more than likely, it's not going to be that unless you own that cargo van outright. Now, if you own that cargo van outright, then yeah. You know what I'm saying? Now, if the volume, if you get a route where you're not getting that type of value, you're not getting that piece count, then $300 ain't going to be enough with one truck, with one van. You're going to need a fleet of vans to, to be able to make some money. One van ain't going to be enough. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think one box truck is enough nowadays. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of people want to get into this industry as a second stream of revenue and say, okay, I'm a business owner. I got a trucking business, or I got a cargo van business. I got a driver. But we're not in those times anymore. I explained that last week. We're not in those times no more. You know, the cost, you know, the cost of entry is high now. All right. If you run in the spot market, right, your rates are determined by, you know, the market. The volume is low, demand is low. You know, demand is low, right? So you need to be on that first truck. You know, my rule of thumb for the trucks is 3 trucks. I think if you on that first truck, boom, you go get that second truck. Now you on that first, you got to drive on that second one. You go get that third truck. You may be able to come off that third truck. You may have to wait till you get that fourth truck to scale back, and then you can, you know, manage, because now you got enough revenue coming in that, you know, you can step back. You know what I'm saying? Cargo van, the margins are a lot smaller. So me personally, you got one cargo van, I think you need to be on it. I just don't think the earning potential is not enough to go into that as thinking it's going to be a stream of revenue, thinking you're going to make a lot of money, because you're not. It's just not. And then, you know, your cargo van is going to have to supplement. If you really want to if you want to do 500 a day, you're going to have to run dedicated, and you're going to have to run some type of gig. You know, you're not gonna. You may get lucky and catch a a a medical supply route. You may be able to get close to that 500, that 450, 475, maybe touch that 500. But when you're dealing with these office supplies, you're looking more at the 425 on, and this is on the high end now, meaning you're going fresh in the door and they giving you one of them routes, which is not going to happen, because those routes are already taken by the tenured people that have been there. You coming in the door, one of these logistics companies, they giving you the route that don't nobody want. Because as soon as an OG that's, let's say, they got a good route, been running a good route, he walk away and leave, and that route becomes open, the people that are next in line that's got seniority, they pulling them routes and they moving that around. So when you come on board, whatever's left is the sucky route. And then you got to work your way up. That's just the way it works. So if you're in a cargo van, you're not going to step into just a clean, high-paying piece count route, because those guys that pre-existed there before you have already snatched those routes. Looking for a hustle to pay insurance. Hey, but yeah, that's for Rob Do It Easy. Yeah, he's really adamant about that utility trailer, but you know, them utility trailers is, I know it's a cheaper alternative to get into the space, but I don't think that's, you know, a conducive, let's say, or a good idea if you're in a high density area. It's just going to be too hard to maneuver that thing. It's hard to maneuver a box truck in some places. You know what I'm saying? Now you dealing with a trailer that's swinging. You may have to back it up. Like, nah, bro, no. I was looking into 16-foot through Penske. I'm only an hour and a half away from Chicago. Best deal, was able to get $300 a week. Damn, for 16, Penske called me. I told this on my last live. I think I was on a coaching session. They called. I put them on speakerphone. They called me and offered me $225 for the week, 500 fee miles, and 15 cents a mile. And I said, would you do it for 10? Just BSing with them. He said, yeah, we'll do 10 cents a mile. So $300 a week, 30 cents a mile, $300 a week, 30 cents a mile is too high. They offered me $225 a mile. I know I got an account, a 14-year account with them, but, you know, that's what they told me. So you can try to maybe negotiate that with them. That was the Penske out in South Holland. I forget the guy's name, the rep that called me, because the rep that I used to deal with there, Brian, he's no longer there. So it was one of those reps calling me, cold call. I think his name was Ramon or something. He was a Hispanic guy. So maybe you check that Penske out in South Holland, Illinois. Those are the rates they gave me. You didn't hear it from me, though. You didn't hear it from me. Kobe Curry. Do you know if RL carriers have opportunities for final mile? I've been told they do, but haven't came across. Yeah, so I got a sub. I got a sub that run RL carriers that does curbside final mile for him. He does about 15 stops a day. He averages about $1,000 a day, 15 stops. He does that here. He actually does that here in Chicago. He lives in Indiana, but he comes here to run that. You know what I'm saying? He does $1,000 a day on average, 15 stops curbside. RNL carriers. RNL carriers is a little bit difficult to get into because they don't make it very easy on their website to find that opportunity. So you you gotta go to the facility and inquire within there. And then their website is not, user friendly as far as it is to the contractors. So if I were you, since you're here and I know someone here that does curbside final mile, 15 stops, that's making $1,000. Luckily for you, they may have a route available. It's not likely, but you never know until you go and inquire. I would go and inquire personally. Well, no, you're not from here. I don't know where you're from. I was talking to some. Okay, Khan's Logistics is from Chicago. It's right an hour and a half from Chicago. Hakeem, I don't know where you from. But if it's an RNL carriers wherever you at, I would go inquire with them because their website is not very user friendly to contractors. So, but yeah, it's somebody I know here that's running with a box truck. It's making $1,000 a day doing curbside final mile. BTW brand, when a major location such as RXO is lacking contracts, what do they think is the core problem? What would it be, them or is it the demand? Let me tell you this BTW. I've never known RXO or XPO to be lacking contracts. Never. Even in the current market, right? They're the third largest trucking company in the country, right? They're the first largest when it comes to big and bulky, right? Because like I said before, UPS and FedEx don't do big and bulky delivery. They don't do appliances. They don't do furniture. The biggest I've seen come off of FedEx trucks are tires and big area rugs. They'll deliver a big area rug, 75-pound, 150-pound area rug, something like that. But they're not coming off with a couch. FedEx is one man. It's a one-man thing, right? So XPO RXO is the third largest trucking company in the country, but they're the first largest, which makes them number one when it comes to big and bulky. RXO is not one of the companies that's going to ever lack accounts. Some of these other smaller companies, yeah, they lose an account. It's detrimental. I remember when Dynamics lost IKEA, that was very detrimental to them, right? Because they only had, at that time, they had Amazon, they had IKEA, Office Depot, Grainger, and then some medical supply stuff. IKEA was their biggest account. But to a company like RXO XPO, they have every account. They have the retailer from the store side. They have the web-based account. If you go into a Best Buy and you buy a Samsung refrigerator, it's going through them. If you go to Samsung.com and buy the refrigerator straight off the website, they got that account as well. And every account in between. So RXO XPO, you never have to worry about them lacking. They got mattresses, furniture, appliances, web-based accounts, everything. All right. Some of these other smaller accounts, let's say like your NAL, Cardinal, Pilot, who else do I want to throw in there? T-Force. If they lose an account, it's going to hurt a little bit more. The reason why XPO really don't lose accounts is because they got a nasty infrastructure as well. Their infrastructure is way better than a lot of these other third-party logistics companies. You see what I'm saying? They have a really, and even though I parted ways with them because they wanted me to get that umbrella, when it comes to their infrastructure, right, and how they operate it compared to other third-party logistics companies that I've frequented in the past, their setup is second to none. And I'm not a big fan of XPO, but I always keep it funky. You know what I'm saying? I'm always gonna keep it funky with y'all. You know what I'm saying? Their infrastructure is second to none. So it is what it is when it comes to RXO. They're not gonna lose anything. Um Now, as far as the supply and demand issue, when it comes to let's say more dedicated stuff, it's a little bit different than running the spot market, right? It's a little bit different than running the spot market. And I actually talked about it little in one of these last videos uh, that I did. The reason why Final Mile is rolling and it's not slowing down is because it's dedicated, it's consistent, and you're dealing with a different type of commodity that's being delivered, right? I talk about it all the time. Appliances, right? It's a lot of development, you know. There's a lot of development coming on. If you come here to Chicago, there's cranes everywhere downtown Chicago. There's cranes everywhere. If you look up in the sky and you look at the skyline of all the skyscrapers and stuff, you're gonna see cranes scattered through all of them, right? Development here is nasty. So every building, 50 units, 100 units. Okay, if it's a 100-unit building, that's 100 refrigerators, that's 100 stoves, that's 100 ranges, 100 stackable washers and dryers, 100 dishwashers. In New York is development going on. It's LA is development going on. Other major cities, there's a lot of development going on. All right. On top of that, these are items that, you know, whereas people aren't spending money on goods right now, they're putting that money into services when really they should just not be spending anything. People aren't spending money on goods, like more frivolous things, right? But here, if your refrigerator goes out, guess what? You have to go replace your refrigerator. You call the serviceman, you know what, this refrigerator, you've had it 20 years. You know, Kenmore doesn't even make this model. They don't even sell the parts to this thing anymore. You're going to have to buy a new refrigerator. Guess what? When he leaves, you're going to have to hop in your car and go to Best Buy, go to Home Depot, go to Lowe's, and start looking for a refrigerator. It's not something that you can go without. You know, if your stove goes out, it's not something you can go without. Your washer, if you want to go to your wash and dry, go out. If you want to carry your butt down to the laundromat, then, you know, that's on you. But more than likely, you're going to have to go replace it immediately. Stove immediately. Refrigerator immediately. And every day, someone's stove is going out. Right now, as we're talking, someone's refrigerator just made that noise and just went out. And they got to go buy a new refrigerator. You know what I'm saying? So this is why, you know, these things are still moving versus other commodities that have slowed down. Um, um, you know, the middle mile. You know what I'm saying? That's why I was saying that video, you got to find a lane where it's consistent, and this is consistent. The reason why a lot of these logistics companies would it be better? Would it be them or is it demand low? Right. So the reason why, in my experience, from what I've seen with my own two eyes, the main reason logistics companies lose accounts is because they're underperforming at the standards that the retailer wants them to perform at. It's mainly due to the contractors, but you know, these retailers have a multitude of people who or companies that they can go to now for final mile. So as far as final mile, no, it hasn't slowed down. Volume hasn't slowed down. I don't see a problem. I know there's people in here. I haven't heard one problem from my subscribers that run final mile that it's slow, because it's not. It's consistent. So what do I think about VHO? I think it has the potential to be something good, but right now I don't see it. That's why I don't mention it. Now I don't know if they've had any new advancements from when I looked at it before, because it was just box delivery, and I don't think their network of opportunities was as plentiful when I looked at it, which was last year. It hasn't been on my radar, you know. So when I looked into it last year, it just really wasn't worth me even further going into. But I'm pretty sure if it was worth me looking into, it would have came across my radar by now. I don't really think anything of it. But since you mentioned it to me, I'm gonna maybe take some time aside and look to see if they've had any new developments since I looked into it last year. But last time I looked into it, didn't really impress me yet. It has the potential if it can survive its initial the startup phase, as far as funding and things of that nature. But there's companies that started in the same time frame as them that have well surpassed them. So you know, I'm late, but checking in from Guam. What's going on? Checking in from Guam. Pippi is in the building. Pippi, I thought you was out of town. I popped in for a moment. I'm getting my stuff ready for my venture. Oh yeah, Pippi going on a trip. So she gonna be gone. Hopefully Nick can jump in and help me out. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Hit that like button. I appreciate y'all. When I come on these live streams, this is just me doing this. I'm like a lawyer that's working pro bono, just doing this pro bono, passing my experience on to you guys. Answering questions and helping to give some type of knowledge, um, so that you guys can be successful out there. Because I know it's a lot of. Hey, I meant to load up the damn thumbnail for tomorrow night show, but that's okay. I can show you tomorrow's show on. Let me share the screen. I meant to load the thumbnail in. I don't want to do it now, so let's do this. Let's go here. Let's go to my channel. All right, let me share my screen. Let's share. That's the wrong screen. I want to share this screen. All right, this is the screen I want to share. So this is me here. Let's see. I'm gonna take this off. Let's do this. All right, so tomorrow's live right here. All right, so tomorrow, the three wise men. The topic we're gonna be talking about. We're gonna open it up. We're gonna talk a little bit about brokers, right? Next topic is honesty a disadvantage on YouTube. Is honesty a disadvantage on YouTube? Topic that I know a lot of people want to hear. All right. And are box truck cargo van creators putting money over morals? All right. So is honesty a disadvantage on YouTube? Meaning, is being honest a disadvantage, right? And are box truck cargo van creators putting money over morals? All right. So we're going to do that live stream tomorrow. It's probably going to get hot. You know what I'm saying? Because, a lot of y'all still mad that y'all got taken advantage of. This is going to be a very open conversation. We're not, pinpointing anybody in specific. So you come in thinking we finna like start name dropping people. That's not what it is. This is just a topic that, I've spoke on it, in the latter part of last year. I know Kirk spoke on it. I don't know if Axel spoke on this on his TikTok or whatever, but now we're going to all talk about it, in an open forum with us collectively, between us three, and we'll see the crowd participation, maybe some noteworthy comments that come up in the chat. We'll pop them on the screen and maybe expound on them. So it's going to be a good conversation. I know this one's going to be a lot of people are going to tune in because y'all know how like Kirk and Axel get when it comes to these other guys. Once they get going, man, they get going. So it may be some name drops. I'm going to try to avoid it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to speak from general. But this is something that a lot of people were taken advantage of. A lot of people were being dishonest, whether they were doing it deliberately or indeliberately because they were just ignorant and just didn't have the knowledge. And then money over morals. Man, are people charging people, on the bogus tip? You know what I'm saying? Are they taking advantage of people? So we're gonna talk about it tomorrow. We're gonna go ahead and get it out the way. So man, make sure y'all tune in tomorrow for that. And it is what it is. What's the actual purpose or best strategy to utilize a rental truck in these lanes for a person just starting or has started? Is it just to supplement a vehicle that's temporarily being served? What is the actual purpose or best strategy to utilize a rental truck? The actual purpose is to do whatever it is you need to do with it. So if you're renting the truck to run OTR, then the purpose of you renting the truck is to run OTR. If you're renting it to run Final Mile, and that's the purpose. You're renting to do Amazon. You pretty much answered your own question. The purpose is what you're here for, to run freight. So the strategy to utilize the lanes, is it to just supplement? Some people's trucks break down and they get a rental truck, you know what I'm saying, until that truck comes out the shop. Most people nowadays rent a truck because it's people on the internet saying that's the best way to go. And at one point it was the better way to go, but we're not at that point anymore, right? The cost of renting a truck now is sky high. I listen, the good thing about, me, or maybe like some Kirk, people that have been in this industry over 10 years, we can tell you, things based on experience. A person that's getting into this industry a year or two ago, they can't tell you what the rates were 10 years ago. So I can tell you what the rates were 10 years ago because I was renting trucks 10 years ago at the rates 10 years ago. So I've seen how they increased and I've seen when they increased, right? And, renting a truck then pre-pandemic versus renting a truck now is a totally different ball game, right? Rates are the same. All right. Rates scale with the cost of truck rentals. When the cost of truck rentals rates scale with them simultaneously during the pandemic. Why? Why did rates scale with the rates scale with the cost of trucks? Right, because volume was high. The same reason when I tell people like that shit is stupid when people say, man, stop taking cheap freight so the rates can go up. The reason the rates are lower, people taking cheap freight. All you got to do is think back to the pandemic. Rates were high. Okay, a lot of people thought that was just normal, but when y'all saw it wasn't normal, you found Mark, and Mark said, yo, those rates aren't normal. They're inflated. And you saw that and you started believing me. Just do a compare and contrast. Those rates were high because volume was high. People had stimulus money. People were buying everything. They couldn't sit their butts down. The government was giving money. They was buying anything they could put their hands on. So because volume went up, the rates went up, and the rates scaled with the volume. Really scaled. Those rates were so high because volume was so high. Rates are low now because volume is low. Right? So, no, I don't think, renting a truck right now. I mean, somebody in the chat a few minutes ago just said they told him 30 cents for a mile for a 16-foot box truck. It's ridiculous. 16-foot box truck should be anywhere from 10 to 15 cents a mile all day long. All day long. They told me $2.25. Listen, $2.25 is what I was paying for a 16-foot box truck in 2011 through Penske at 10 cents a mile and 500 free miles. And this is what they're offering me, even though I don't need it, but I can pass this information to y'all. This is a rate they offered me in 2013, which was a rate that I was getting in 2011. That's a good rate for a 16-foot box truck. You get that for a 16-foot box truck, man, you can go do Capstone. You can go run pallets for T-Force, for Office Depot. You don't have to take the per piece. You can take the pallet route. It's 40 boxes of paper on a pallet. You can fit 8 pallets on a 16-foot box truck. Do the math. At $2.25 a piece, 40 boxes. Each box has about 10 reams of paper, or 8 reams of paper, 10 reams of paper. All right? You got 40 of them things on a pallet. 40 times 8. Now, times that times $2.25 a piece. Get money. 16-foot box truck, $2.25 for the week, 15 cents a mile, negotiate down to 12 cents, 10 cents, and they giving you 500 free miles. You ain't even gonna have to pay for the miles. You're gonna probably do less than 100 miles a day. So, in that situation, renting a truck is good. But if you go rent a truck at a 26-foot truck, and you're renting it at $1,800 a week, or one of these ungodly rates people been telling me, it's a little bit lower now. I haven't really heard 1,800 in a few months, 1,500. I'm hearing more like 1,000 now. So $1,000 a week, 32 cents a mile, you're gonna get ate up coming there and going. They ain't giving you no free miles. They charge you 30-something cents a mile. They charge you $1,000 a week. At that rate, nah, I don't think it's good. Now at the old rate, pre-pandemic, $450, $500, 1,500 free miles, right? 17 cent a mile, 18 cent a mile, 15 cent a mile. Yeah, go get money. But not at these rates, no. Not at these rates, no. No. So it's not to supplement. It's supplementing if your truck is broke down and you don't want to sit on your hands and wait. And you just say, you know what, I'm going to go get a truck until my truck. But most of the people that are renting trucks now, they're renting their trucks as that's their truck, their main source of getting to the money. They're not buying a truck. So I wouldn't recommend it. Always Spins Facts, one of the best content creators on YouTube. Appreciate it. What if you run dedicated partial routes with the Sprinter van? Do you think it's worth it? I think it's worth it if it's worth it to you and you're making money from it. You know what I'm saying? So if you're running dedicated partial routes, let's say for that Capstone, at the rate they're paying you, and you're making a decent percentage, you gotta remember the margins in this industry are small. If you can get a 20% margin, I think that's stupendous. I think that's superb. That's great, because the average is about 2 to 6%, right? That's the national average, right? So if you can get 20%, 15%, if you can get 10%, then you're winning. You're winning. So as long as you're making money and you're comfortable and you're happy with it, I think, yeah, it'll be worth it. If you're not comfortable with it and you're not happy with it, then no, it's not going to be worth it. As long as you're making money and you're happy and you're comfortable with the money that you're making. See, you asked that question in a way I can answer it like this. And that's just the honest to God truth. You know what I'm saying? So whatever you're happy with, as long as you're making money. And if you're not making no money, then no, it ain't worth it. I can answer that question directly. No, it's not worth it. But if you're making money, I'm going to put your margin on the low end. I'm going to put you somewhere 10 to 20%. If you can make 10 to 20%, then I think you're doing great. See, I don't have high expectations. You see what I'm saying? Because I know the facts. I know what the industry entails. The numbers are the numbers. The margins are small. So I don't go into things with high expectations. That's why I tell you guys, I put these numbers on. I say 10 to 20%. You know what I'm saying? If you can get that, you're fine. You know what I'm saying? So you have to, figure out what makes you happy. You know what I'm saying? So if you're making money and then the money that you're making is making you happy, then yeah, it's worth it. If you're a box truck driver now in Chicago, what would you be looking into in Chicago? If I was getting into the space now, I answer this question maybe once a month. Somebody asked me this. If I were getting into the space now, see, man, it's hard to answer that question because I know what I know. So, man, let's say if I didn't know what I know, I can only guess. I probably would be looking for a curbside final mile if I was in a truck. All right. More than likely, I would go the van route. 99.8% I would go the van route. But since you asked a box truck, if I was getting into the space right now in a box truck, I would be aggressively looking for a one-man contract. And I tell you this, guys, all the time. Why? Because people are not dependable. You're talking to a guy who made his bones in final mile at a time where, people were dependable and there was less opportunity, and I could snatch everybody that was coming out the joint. Everybody, every day people were coming to the office to apply. Every day I had employees. Hey, Mark, I got somebody who want to work. I got somebody, my cousin just got, whatever. It's not like that no more. And I'm honestly telling y'all that, because if it was, guess what? Mark would still be running a shitload of trucks. All right. Luckily for me, I made my money and I did right by my money. I invested my money into other things, right? So that as things, as the world changed, right? COVID came people's mindset shifted on how they look at work, right? This boss culture came about, right? And everybody wanted to be their own boss. And then with it's really uncomfortable saying it because I don't know who's watching. I don't want anybody to get offended. But, and then with, I don't want to say invasion, but I want to say with all the migration of all the immigrants that have come to this country, the blue collar industry has taken a turn, right? So with me knowing all that, and I probably wouldn't know that if I was getting into the industry, but with me knowing what I know, right, I would be looking for a one-man contract, because even if I get a 26-foot box truck and I run a final mile contract, big and bulky with 2 persons, I go get me a helper. Every night when I go to sleep, I'm hoping and I'm praying to God that this person shows up the next day, because if he doesn't, I can't do anything. I can't lift the refrigerator into somebody's house by myself. So even though it's my business, I'm the owner operator, I'm the contractor, I know I'm going to be there because I don't have no choice. Rain, sleet, or snow, through sickness or in health, I know I'm going to be there, but I can't 100% guarantee that this person is going to be there. You can't. There was plenty of days, during my peak that I was, man, please let everybody, like every night before I went to bed, I was praying to God that everybody showed up to work the next day. You talking about 30, 35 people at my peak. I would have to schedule an extra person or 2 every day and pay them just to come to work, just in case somebody didn't show up. And if everybody showed up, I had to give them a 2-hour minimum and send them home. You see what I'm saying? So every night I was praying to God, because if somebody didn't show up, that would leave me with starting my day with an issue that had to be resolved immediately. You know what I'm saying? And at that point, at my peak, there was no Mark getting on the truck no more. Prior to my peak, and then when COVID hit, after, when things started to wind down and I had to jump back on the truck in 2020, when I was at my peak with all these trucks and all these people, if somebody didn't show up to work, Mark couldn't get on a truck. Mark got 30-some other people. Mark got an ops manager. Mark, I Genesis in there doing accounting. I got Stacy doing fleet, and I got a million calls. Select calling me all day. You know what I'm saying? I can't be on the truck. I have to run a business, right? So now I got a problem solve, right? And the best solution I had to come up with was I got to overschedule and pay people to come to work just in case on call and somebody don't show up. And then if everybody shows up, I got to cut them 2-hour minimum, send them home. You know what I'm saying? So me getting into this space now, if I was to do it right now, I would do curbside final mile, because guess what? I'm not going to let myself down. I don't have to worry about, man, is my helper going to show up the next day? I know I can depend on me, and I would be looking for something that I could do solely by myself. I wouldn't be thinking about scaling. I wouldn't be thinking about none of that, because see, here's the thing. Everything that I know it, and I can tell y'all that, but what backs it up for me, you know what I'm saying, that I know I'm on top of my stuff and I really know what I'm talking about, because I get a lot of people that do go into these things that I'm saying I would stay away from, that come and be like, man, you was right. I did this. I went and got this truck. Man, my cousin said he was going to work. He worked 2 days and he quit. He worked a month and he quit. Now I can't find nobody. I'm having a hard time finding somebody. Middle mile, I can't find nobody to drive my truck. I can't drive it because I'm a nurse. I got a few nurses I talk to. You know what I'm saying? People in final mile, helpers done went kaput on them because they couldn't take it. You know what I'm saying? So I would find something where I would solely depend on myself, especially in these current times we're living in. People are just not reliable. So my advice to you would be, man, find something that you can do yourself. And if it was me getting in once again, it would be curbside final mile or cargo van. Yeah, I'm in the Atlanta area, and I'll definitely do that tomorrow. Okay, 10-4. Do you know what tier you are on with RXO? If you can't do certain things because you are a soul tech, then you might get as much. Who you talking to, Pippi? BTW Sounds? in the Dallas area, they have a lot of guys out there. Last I heard, BTW sounds as if you are not primary in the area for ARC. So yeah, y'all having a side conversation. All right. Yeah, I dealt with Victor and Ashley over at the location in Argentina. Oh yeah, y'all still having a side conversation. If it don't make it's because the championship men see the basketball is on tomorrow night. Oh damn, that's tomorrow night. Oh well. Well, actually, if you want to name drop, that's on you. But you know, when you start name dropping, you got to be prepared to fight that fight. You know what I'm saying? Because when you start it, you got to be able to finish it. And when you start it, you know, however it goes, that's just however it goes. So, you know, me, I don't have time for that, bro. Me, I don't, you know, I ain't really checking for nobody. I'm speaking when it comes to my little time to talk about it, I'm speaking in general. You know what I'm saying? Because this happened a lot and it's still happening a lot. To be honest with y'all, for those of y'all that don't know, it's still happening. You know what I'm saying? So I'm speaking from a general. I don't even have a person thought in mind because it's more than one. So you know, actually, that's on you. However you want to handle your little part of the segment, that's how you. Just be prepared for those repercussions that come along with it. Does Staples have opportunities for 26-foot box trucks, or is it exclusively for small size? So Staples has opportunities for cargo vans and 16-foot box trucks. 26-foot box truck for Staples is overkill. People says people flake on you real quick. Yeah, people flake on you real quick. That's why I would, you know, in today's times with all the opportunities that are available right now, and just the mindset of how people, you know, look at work now. You know what I'm saying? People don't value a person to quit on you quick now. You know, without a second thought. You know, years prior, a person would hate their job, hate their boss, but have to come to work because there was a lack of opportunity, and that was providing them an opportunity, was providing them a paycheck. You can work for me today, right? And you can say, you know what, screw you, Mark. I'm out of here. And you can leave and go cut on 5 or 6 apps and immediately go get money. Then it wasn't like that. You quit on a person. Now you got to go to monster.com. Does monsters.com still exist, or was it Yahoo Jobs, or this is before Indeed? You know what I'm saying? I'm putting y'all in a time frame before Indeed. It was monster.com, it was Yahoo Jobs, it was AOL Jobs, and um, all these job websites, early on job listings, right? Boards. Um, classifieds.com, and you would have to go there and start putting your resume up and applying for jobs, waiting for calls. So there would be a lapse of time where you exited this job, where you got fired, you quit, versus you going through the process, going on jobs.com, monster.com, filling out applications, sending in your resumes, rating on responses, going in for a first interview, going in for a second interview, all that stuff, and then getting hired. So all that time in between, you're not earning. Now you can say, screw you, Mark, give me the finger, get to the parking lot, open your phone. You got Uber Eats, you got DoorDash, you got Grubhub, you got Amazon Flex, you got this, you got that, you got Roadie, you got this, and you can go get money instantaneously. So people aren't scared to quit no more. For the littlest reasons, man. F this, man. I ain't doing this today, man. I don't feel like lifting, man. I've been wanting to quit anyway, man. F this, man. I'm gone. But that don't mean they're gonna be broke. So yeah, people will flake on you, man. With the curbside final mile, the dedicated routes reliable to build a team around, in your opinion, or would that be better to run by yourself? Curbside final mile is one man. I would definitely run that first route by myself. All right. If there's opportunity to scale after that first route, if you can find reliable people, then yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and If that's what you want to do, build a team, go ahead and build a team. Um, I think it's the easier. Scaling. I think scaling a one man final mile ensemble, right, on scale. I think in today's times, I think it would be easier, right, and your retention, um, your retention will be better than two or three man big and bulky, because that person has its freedom. They're out in the world as long as you're compensating them handsomely, right? If you're compensating them handsomely, right, bonus, right? They're out in the field by themselves, right? So they're pretty much micromanaging themselves, right? Um, they're doing curbside final mile, so they're not really doing. It's not like big and bulky where they're carrying things in, lifting things, maneuvering things, strategizing how they're going to get this refrigerator through this door, assembling, installation, right? They're just basically going to a stop, going on the back of their truck, activating their lift gate, taking their pallet jack, grabbing that pallet, putting it on the lift gate, lowering that lift gate, and pulling that pallet to the doorstep or on the dock, and putting that pallet jack back on the truck and going to the next stop, and doing that somewhere between 8 to 15 times a day on a route. That's it. So I think the retention will be great. You pay them handsomely. I think it'll be a lot better, less stressful situation for you as the owner operator that's operating at scale, multiple trucks with multiple different drivers running their own route, than it would be. You're going to be a lot more stressed out if you run big and bulky, and want to scale big and bulky, because now every truck you got to worry about two people. If one person don't show up, you screwed. If you running two trucks and one person don't show up on truck one, you can go jump in that truck and be fine. But your big and bulky truck, one person don't show up, it's a wrap. You relying on two people, so I have to go down. See y'all in a couple weeks. Keep liking and subscribing. Great content as usual. All right, Pippi, enjoy your trip. Pippi has exited the building. All right, Pippi has exited the building. Enjoy your trip. What's the average pay for curbside? It depends on the account. Average pay. I had a subscriber just get on. I coached him to get on with T-Force. They offered him. He's in North Carolina, $42.89 a stop. I think 15 stops. 15 stops. So y'all do the math. $42.89 a stop. That was the rate. And I got the rate negotiation. I got the contract. He emailed it to me, so I saw it. $42.89 a stop. So average is about somewhere between $40 to $50 a stop. I got, like I said, a person here that's running through R&L carriers here in my market that's making $50 a stop. So he's making $50 a stop. So yeah, guys. Which part of North Carolina? I'm based in Raleigh, Durham. I think he's in Charlotte. So yeah, if there's a T-Force out there, it's Home Depot. Check it out, man. Been running, man. I always catch the lives after. While I'm running, I'm having folks turn to your channel. Keep dropping your knowledge and educating us. Appreciate you checking in. I ain't seen you in a minute, Cantrell. You used to be in my lives, but you busy. As long as you checking the replays, man, I appreciate it. I'm going back up. These are some of the earlier comments. Here in Houston, Texas, is medical, auto parts, etc. Anyone familiar with the Sprinter van market in New York? The Sprinter van market in New York is great. Anything in New York is great. All right. Your traffic is bad. Maybe the living condition, your rent is high as hell. You know what I'm saying? The cost of living out there, but because of the volume, anything you do out there, because of the volume and the high density and the population, right, you're going to make money. Like I said earlier, there's people out there that are doing food delivery that's checking a bag. So, yeah, the market is great. Like he says, a lot of competition, but at the same time, you can find work anywhere. Let me see. All right, don't see Indiana. Yeah, so there's a game tomorrow, huh? Well, we're gonna do the live anyway, man. We're gonna do the live. People just catch the replay. I didn't know the Final Four was tomorrow. I really don't keep up with that. I don't really keep up with the Final Four. I barely keep up with the Bulls. You know what I'm saying? But I don't keep up with no Kyle. I don't even know who's in the Final Four. So for those of you that's gonna be watching the game, enjoy the game. Just make sure you guys check out the replay tomorrow. Before I get out of here, I'm gonna share my screen. This is the topics for tomorrow. We're gonna talk a little bit about brokers because Kirk sent me something earlier that we're gonna talk about as far as the brokers is concerned. Then we're gonna also talk about, is honesty a disadvantage on YouTube? I guess there's a lot of disingenuous content creators that feel like lying is the best way to get the subscribers or get people to tune in. So we're going to talk about it. And then our box truck cargo van creators putting money over morals. We're going to talk about it tomorrow, man. It's going to be very interesting. We're going to get to it, though, because a lot of people have been complaining. So we're going to go ahead and have this conversation. We're going to have this conversation, y'all. So good content again, Mark. Appreciate you. Let's see. Anything in Stroudsburg, PA area. Is that a you're on Facebook. That sounds like a low density area. I've never heard of Stroudsburg, PA. I've heard of Harrisburg. I heard of Pennsylvania. I heard of Philly. I heard of Pittsburgh. I heard of York, Pennsylvania, and some other parts of Pennsylvania. I never heard of Stroudsburg, PA. So I wouldn't know, man. Something you have to look at as far as a cargo van, which I wouldn't know. Shout out to you checking in from Facebook. Shout out to everybody that's watching on Facebook. I'm probably going to try to stream on Instagram. So I'm going to stream because currently I'm streaming on YouTube and Facebook, but I want to stream on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. So it's a little bit more difficult to stream on Instagram. I got to get a stream key to stream on Instagram. So I'm going to look into that so I can stream on all three platforms. But shout out to everybody that's watching on Facebook. I know I've seen some other Facebook logos here, like Akeem, you watching on Facebook. I've seen somebody else watch, a few more people watching on Facebook. But shout out to all y'all that's watching on Facebook. UConn and Miami, Florida. Okay, well, I definitely won't be watching because I'm going to be on here tomorrow doing this show. So, new to the game as far as pool work, how does one get contracts with TQL and T-Force, Landstar, JB Hunt? I'm already signed up to the load board. So, it sounds like you're looking to do OTR. If you're looking to do OTR, you just sign up to the load board and you start calling brokers and trying to get freight. Study partials. You might want to holler at Kirk as far as, learning how to do the partial thing. Now, if you're talking about final mile, you can X TQL out the equation for final mile. You can X Landstar out the equation. Now for T-Force and JB Hunt has a final mile division. You would just go on to their job listing, whether it's on their website or maybe on a job board like Indeed, and you would apply. Or if you're in an area where they have these locations, they have a location in an area that you live in or nearby, within a small radius, then it doesn't hurt to drive to that location and apply in person either. Maybe you can get some FaceTime from the operations manager or the branch manager. Now, as far as Landstar and TQL, those you can just go on the load board and start, bidding on loads, contacting brokers and trying to get freight. You know what I'm saying? Simple as that. Not difficult at all. What are some quick examples of some one-man final mile routes aside from Capstone R&L? T-Force has a good one with Home Depot. T-Force has a good one with Home Depot. TQL, matter of fact, TQL does have a box truck contract. They got one with HDL, HD Supply. HD Supply, which pays $600 a route, $3,000 a week. So I take that back. You can get a one-man final mile contract with TQL because they have HD Supply. Few people got HD Supply, but I have some subs that run HD Supply for TQL, and they happy with it. So not everything with TQL is bad, $600 guaranteed a day, all right, with anywhere from 8 to 15 stops, 5 days a week, that's $3,000 a week. And the people that I know that are running HD Supply with TQL are happy. These are guys that were running OTR, making that gross a week, running within their region, state to state, and now they can stay home, see their kids, see their family every day, and make that same money with less cost, right? Because they're not burning that much fuel as they were driving, OTR, right? And they're making that same money doing curbside final mile. So TQL has HD Supply. Home Depot has T-Force has Home Depot. You might want to look into RXO. It may be hard to pull something out of RXO as far as curbside one man, because most of the time when I see those final mile deliveries for RXO XPO, it's usually in one of their branded trucks. So it's usually one of their company drivers. So I don't know how much they have allotted to the side for owner operators and box trucks to do that type of work. But I think if you start with those suggestions that I gave you, you may get lucky, especially with the T-Force one. Keith Jordan just became a member of the channel. Hey Keith, appreciate you for signing up to the Mentor Gang. Now you're a part of the Mentor Gang. You're a Mentor Gang member, so it comes with a little perks. You get to see videos before everybody else sees them. I put up phone numbers to recruiters. It's not something that I do for everybody, so you get direct connections with the recruiters. And a monthly contest, so a monthly contest too. So a few other perks. Then you get a cool badge next to your name, and you get priority in the chat when I see that pops up. When I see that little star, I skip over everybody else and I answer your question. All right. So a few little perks, Keith. So I appreciate you for subscribing to the Mentor Gang. All right. Final mile. So yeah, I pretty much answered your question. Thanks, G. I'm in Cleveland, Ohio. There's a lot of people subscribe to me from Cleveland, man. A lot of people from Cleveland. If you in Cleveland, you in the Midwest, so you should have some opportunity. I would check out T-Force. You in Cleveland, go to T-Force and check them out. See what they got on the Home Depot side. That's what I would do. I would definitely check out T-Force. Nick is still in the building. All right, guys, any more questions? If not, I appreciate everybody for coming in. We'll scroll up. Will this be saved on YouTube so I can play it back? Yeah, it'll be saved. All right, I hope everybody enjoyed the presentation tonight. You know what I'm saying? As far as the low density and the high density, hopefully everybody got some type of value out of that. I know, some people didn't understand what low density, high density was. So that's why I wanted to expound on it, because I've run into some situation where people have come to me for coaching or emailed me, or like I said, I had a lady in my DM that went out and spent all this money on this truck or van. I forgot which one it was, did everything she needed to do, right? She had mentorship and coaching from somebody else. I'm not going to name no names. She went through their mentorship, coaching, right? And they took this young lady through, all the parameters of getting set up and getting going. And then once it was time to get going, they couldn't get them going because she's in a low density area. But that's something that with the money she spent, they should have had. First thing they should have had her do was complete and make up a business plan. And then when she would have did her market analysis, she would have understood that there was nothing in her area. To me, it kind of behooves me, if that's the right word, that a person would spend so much time on building a business, getting the licensing, going through the procedures, I should say, to get up and going, but not take a look at what's in the area, or not even have a knowledge on which lane you're going to run or what lanes even exist, to the point where you done did all this, spent this money, and now it's like, well, man, I can't find nothing. And somebody hit the like button, because that just don't make sense to me. Hit my like button if that don't make sense to y'all either, because it don't make sense to me. It don't make sense to me that you're going to go through all this, spend all this money, but don't think to know what you're going to do once you spend all this money. And then when you spend all this money, now is the time to go look to see what this money that I spent has to offer. Nah, you see what the industry has to offer before you spend the money, because if she would have did that, she wouldn't have been in that jam. And I feel like the person that she went to for mentorship should have. But that just let me know they didn't know, which is why we're going to be talking about it tomorrow, guys. So one more shameless plug before I get out of here. Is honesty a disadvantage on YouTube? And I think honesty is a disadvantage. No, I don't think honesty is a disadvantage. I think a lot of people are dishonest. Some people are dishonest purposely, and some people are dishonest ignorantly because they don't know better. But we're going to talk about it tomorrow. I don't want to get into it right now because we're going to talk about it tomorrow. And then our box truck cargo van creators putting money over morals. Our box truck content creators putting money over morals, guys. We're going to get into that tomorrow too. So make sure you guys tune in for that. All right, so shout out to Keith for becoming a member. Axel, it's my crew in Cleveland, 10-4. Heard of a company called Yizer? Yeah, I heard of them. Not fond of them. I think they got a lot of work to do too. It's a cargo van company. They not everywhere, but they're kind of trying to build out their network. So I haven't spoken on them because I feel like I need to see what they're going to do. A lot of companies, they may not make it. So I'm keeping an eye on them, but I've heard of them. They're just not worth me speaking on them yet. I try to speak on stuff that, is worth people looking into. Listen, if I think it's a waste of my time, I'm not going to waste your time. So it's a waste of my time. So I'm not going to waste your guys' time with even introducing it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not it's a lot of content creators. I'll talk about this. It's a lot of content creators that just make videos putting companies up just so they can get their subscriber base up. They really don't have a moral interest in if the people who are watching that content are going to succeed or not. They just want to, oh, well, man, check this company out. Never been in the business to begin with, just naming out companies just to seem like they, putting out knowledge or opportunities for people to jump on. And it's just be a waste of time. I'm not finna waste y'all time. So if I look at a company that I've never dealt with in the past and I don't think it's worth my time, I value my time. I value my time more than I value your time, but I'm not going to waste your time because I'm not going to waste my time. You see what I'm saying? So that's just one of the companies I just keep my eye on. I just don't think it's worth me even mentioning, at least right now. So I'm not going to waste y'all time. I don't put out content, just to say I put it out, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I haven't talked about it. I heard about it. I just don't think they're at that point yet for me to even mention them. So, what's up, bro? I'm looking to start my own box truck business. Is South Carolina a good region for work? Depends on what you want to do. So, real quick, shameless plug. Good question, but you need to not tonight, maybe tomorrow. Watch the replay of this live from the beginning because I'm talking about low density, high density. That's going to help you determine the answer to your own question, right? Understanding doing a market analysis of where you live at, because it's 3 different lanes. Do you want to do Amazon? Do you want to do final mile? Do you want to do middle mile? All right. Depending on if your area is how highly dense or how lowly dense it may be, is going to help make you make that decision a lot easier. Um, um, I think it's a good region. Well, let me say this: as far as middle mile, staying close to home, as far as being industrial, South Carolina is an industrial like the Midwest is, right? If you're running OTR, you can pretty much take your truck anywhere and go get freight, right? So that's a given, right? Now, as far as Amazon, I really can't answer that. I know another content creator, I think Vic is in South Carolina. Is he in North Carolina? I don't know. But he's in one of those Carolinas. But I don't know. From his channel, it seemed like it's meh. You know what I'm saying? I think he's in that area. Now, as far as final mile is concerned, I think you may have some wins if you're in a maybe Columbia, South Carolina, if that's the right town. Maybe North Charlotte. You know, Charlotte is they're trying to make Charlotte into like a tech city. There's a lot of tech people moving to Charlotte. So there may be opportunity for final mile in Charlotte because there's a lot of people moving from other places in the country to Charlotte because they're building Charlotte out to kind of be this tech city. You know what I'm saying? Like a smaller version of San Francisco. Um, so it may work well with final mile maybe in a Charlotte. But I would do a market analysis on your area to help you determine, what lane particularly would work better for you in your market. Appreciate the content and the gems always coming through with the knives. Man, I appreciate you for hanging in there. You've been in here since pretty much the live started, man. So appreciate you for hanging out, man. Wish we met you last year, man. James, you met me when you met me. You did meet me last year, August, but you was already running when I started coaching you. You know what I'm saying? So, you just in the comfort zone. I did a video that probably fits you, you and your son, James. Y'all in that comfort zone with Amazon where it's just you got a love-hate relationship with it. You got to make a decision. You know what I'm saying? You want to make money, so you're going to have to come out that comfort zone and take that risk and jump into something that may be more profitable, but you'll never know unless until you make that move, and you got to make that move in order to know. So, in this industry, you can't be, especially if you're running something that's spot market. The market determines if you're going to make it or not make it. The market determines it. It's like I said in the video, if you want something a little bit that's more dedicated and consistent, you got 2 other options. You got curbside final mile, or you got big and bulky final mile. But you gotta pivot in order to know, and you can't be scared to pivot. You gotta pivot. Shout out to James for, I thought you were already a member, so I guess you just reactivated or recharged your membership or whatever it is. But shout out to you, James. Shout out to you, the other James number 2. If and when do you think the box truck business will go from an advanced entry level back to the beginner's entry, or how do you predict what the changes will be? I think I answered this question a live or 2 ago. I think, listen, man, and I had this conversation earlier when I was in the shop getting my hair twisted. I already made my forecast for this year. I made it in February. I didn't make it in January when everybody else was making theirs, reading what the analysts were saying. And I'm a real person. I'm going to say what I think. And I took a month to really put things into perspective. Even though the analysts were saying the second half of the year, I said, no, I think the year is going to be a wash. I think what you see now is what you're going to get. We haven't seen the bottom. If anything, it's going to get worse. That's what I said. What does Kirk say? History is best qualified when it's documented. It's documented because I said in the live. And the live is up, so all you got to go do is check it out. Now, when everybody was saying their predictions and stuff in the end of December, January, I didn't. They were saying things what the analysts were saying. I said something totally against what the analysts were saying. And guess what? Guess what the analysts are saying now? They've said, you know what? We thought the second half of the year was going to be on the up and up, but it's not looking like that. Why is it not looking like that? Because somebody asked me why. Why? Inflation ain't going down. Interest rates are going up. You got people still spending money. All right, so in order for inflation to go down, interest rates got to go up. People got to stop spending money. People not spending money. Also, there's too many jobs available. We need more unemployment. It's not enough unemployment. That's the real reason all these tech companies are laying people off. We need more unemployment. There's too many people working. All right? We need unemployment. This is what makes the country thrive. We need people to lose their jobs. You know what I'm saying? It sounds bad. It doesn't sound like the right thing to say, but this is the truth, right? Now, let's talk about all the uncertainty. Trump just got indicted. A lot of people want Trump to win because they want Biden out. Why do people want Biden out? Because Biden is weak. All right, you got China messing with us. I want to say effing with us, but I don't want to curse. You got China messing with us, right? Putin still, he made a very, 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 very serious promise, right? That he still hasn't cashed in on yet. He said, don't get involved. If you get involved, I'm going to wreak havoc on you guys that your country has never seen. We haven't seen that havoc yet. All right. And guess what? If he's going to cash in on that promise, guess when he's going to do it? He's going to do it before Trump gets in. He's going to do it before DeSantis gets in. Because one of them two are getting in. If Biden runs again, he's not going to win. All right. There's too much uncertainty in the country, right? We don't know who's running the country because clearly Joe Biden ain't running it. Somebody else is running. There's a lot of uncertainty in the market, right? There's a lot of uncertainty. And when there's uncertainty, people don't do what? They don't spend money. They don't make big frivolous decisions. They don't make big frivolous purchases. Maybe a World War III going on. You got Russia shooting down our drones. You got a $50 million drone at the bottom of the goddamn sea, the Black Sea, the Dead Sea, right? We done abandoned the damn thing. They over there trying to get it up out the ground to see what type of intelligence, right? They shot another one of our aircrafts down a week after that. You got China sending a spy balloon over here. And all the years we've had radar detection, I think 65 years since this technology has existed, all right, for us to detect things coming into our airspace that could possibly, cause detriment to our country. We've never had this happen. Now we got stuff flying across the country for 7 days before we decide to shoot it down. All these things play into people's decisions on how they spend money, right? So now we got that uncertain. Trump just got indicted, so we got to see what goes on with this. Is he still going to be able to run for president? Is he not going to run for president? All these things are going to determine how the country moves forward. And then there's a host of other things that I can get into, but I don't want to be on here all night. All right. So, some of this stuff may go over your head, James, because I know you knew. But, this year, the rates, to sum this up, the rates you see are the rates you want to see. So like I said a live or two ago, get accustomed to what you see. Hoping and wishing and hoping things get better is not what you're going to see. Every so many years, there's a reset, right? We still haven't seen the bottom. We need the reset. We actually need a crash. So it's going to crash. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Even Joe Biden said that. All right. It's got to get worse before it gets better, because in order for it to get better, we have to see the bottom. In order for things to go up, it has to go all the way down so people can start buying into the market. People have to lose things. People have to go bankrupt. People have to go out of business. We're going to see a few more banks collapse. Why are these banks collapsing? These banks were forced to collapse because of inflation. Because of the interest rates. So it's a lot more things on the horizon, and then there's a lot of promises that were made that have people scared. So this year, just get accustomed to what you see. Find a way to make money, right, in the current market. If you can find a way to make money in the current market, you know what that tells me? It tells me you're a good business person, because there's a problem and you were able to create a solution. You didn't complain about it, and you didn't listen to people that say, hey, the reason why the rates are the rates because people taking steep rates. You know what I think when people say that?
That's stupid. Use your common sense.
It's stupid. It's stupid. It's a spot market. It's called the spot market. And any market that you know is based on supply and demand for the most part. When the pandemic hit, what happened to the stock market? It collapsed. The crypto market, it collapsed. Why? Because FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. When people had money, they bought things. Volume went up, rates went up. People don't have money no more. Volume goes down. And the people that do have money or supplementing their income, they're not buying goods with it. They're taking it to these restaurants and they're buying $900 dinners with their friends, and the whole pig comes out on a roaster and it's spinning around, or they bring the alligator out, right? And the whole alligator is laying there with an apple in his mouth. They pay $900 for that, right? And then they take a bunch of pictures on Instagram like that because they at a $900 dinner, right? And they post that. And this is where their money is going. And this is why inflation steady is rising, and this is why the interest rates are steady going up. And this is why the spot market is going to continue to be where it's at, because volume is down until consumers shift their buying behavior from services to goods, or just stop spending money at all, which I don't think is going to happen, because there's too many opportunities out here for people to supplement income. And I think people are going to do that so that, you know, they can have a good time to maybe get their mind off some of the things that are disturbing to them. You know, the younger generation, listen, with all these social apps, you have to have a social life in order to post things on a social app, which is why the money is going into services instead of goods. So I don't think people are going to stop spending money. They just need to transition how they spend it back over into the good side. Now, even if they do that, guess what? They're still spending money, which ultimately what means inflation is going to stay where it's at. Every so many years, things go up and people think that stuff is going to go back down, but ultimately that becomes the new norm. And I just honestly think that we're on the cusp of a new norm. Just get used to it. They're going to talk about it to guess what? Something else happens where that no longer becomes topic number one of importance. Something else happens. Because guess what? God forbid we go into World War III, or China kidnaps a journalist, or let's say the Taliban beheads a journalist, or something happens and we got to go into war. We got to go over to Ukraine. That becomes topic number one. All the news stations are reporting on this. Inflation and interest rates become lower down the as far as interest. The media stop reporting about it, right? But guess what? Nothing really changes, and we as Americans forget about it because this is being pushed in our faces every day. So it is what it is. It is what it is. Oh man, y'all steady coming with these questions, bro. Y'all do not want me to get up out of here, man. So yeah, James, that's the answer to your question, man. Get used to the rates. Figure out a way to survive in the current market, bro. Stop worrying about if things going to get back to the way they were, because they might not. So while you sitting up here worrying for another 8 to 12 months, it's going to be somebody that's going to create a solution to that problem, and they're going to be way ahead of you. You see what I'm saying? You got to roll with the punches. You a business owner. It's just like I said in the video. You got to roll with the punches, bro. It ain't going to work in your favor all the time. You know what I mean? I know exactly what you're talking about. There's a few of them doing that. Oh, y'all talking about just got an application for T-Force. Okay. I want to try everything, bro. OTR, Amazon, and Final Mile. I think you need to create a business plan, right? Focus on a market analysis because tonight's show was about market analysis, low density, high density, right? Determining what area you live in. Is it low density? Is it high density? Right? Determining your region and and ultimately determining pick one. You can't do them all. You got one truck. They don't cross, you can't, do all three of those at the same time. You got to pick one. So I think you should do a business plan, really study the market, study your market, you create a market analysis, and figure out which one you want to try first, and then I will work towards that. Uh, Update my payment. You became another member, man. Well, shout out to you for becoming another member. Again, has always been real talk today with you and the fresh. Yeah, man. I'm gonna always keep it funky, man. I got to, man. Ain't no other way, man. Ain't no other way. Gotta keep it funky, man. Cause see what happens is like what we gonna talk about tomorrow. Like when you flaw, you know what I'm saying? It eventually comes up to catch you. And then like people that be flawed, they get so caught up in being flawed, they forget, they start just being disingenuous. They forget about the lies they told prior, and then they ultimately get caught up. But I think now you get me talk about tomorrow, man. We gotta wait till tomorrow. It's been a bitch of a week. Yeah, this past week was I don't want to say it was a bitch of a week. It was just for me, it was a lot of it just wasn't I don't think it was I don't think I got a lot accomplished this past week. So usually if I don't meet a lot of deadlines that I have for myself, then I feel like it was not a good week. And I missed some deadlines. So when I'm signing up with T-Force, does it change over to a company called Universal App? I don't know. They may have their own app now for onboarding. A lot of companies are getting away from using SCI and OpenForce. For much of my career, in the early, mid, even to the late 2010s, a lot of third-party logistics company all use OpenForce, and Select Express used SCI. What I'm noticing now is a lot of the third-party logistics companies are out, sourcing developers to build their own app to handle all their onboarding, their insurance, and things of that nature. So that what you may be seeing may be what that is, because UST has their own app too. I forgot the name of it. It starts with a P. But yeah, that's probably what it is that you're seeing with them. They probably just got their own app for onboarding, and then everything like all your intermittences and everything as far as your paperwork, you're gonna upload it into the app, and that's how you're gonna submit it to them. And the background, everything is going to be submitted through that app, and that's how you're going to go through the process. So more than likely, that's what it is. Thanks for tuning in. You guys are awesome. Shout out to Nick. Nick, appreciate you for helping out while Pippi is wherever she's at. I'm at the point where I want my hands in everything. Curbside, find my small package, then bigger bulky when confidence is built with the help of courier gigs and middle mile. Yeah. Just gotta take time, y'all. A lot of y'all want to get to that bag ASAP. It takes years, y'all. I think, if y'all just work aggressively at whatever it is you do, the time is going to pass by quick. And then you'll start to see yourself grow and be able to enter into new avenues as well. But don't make this your end all be all. You know what I'm saying? Take some of the money that you're making and invest it into other things. Ultimately get to the point where you can be like your boy Marky Mark, where you got multiple streams of revenue coming in and you don't have to work as hard. You work hard, the first maybe 5 to 10 years, but be investing a lot of your money into other streams of revenue that don't require people. All right. Things that are automated where you can make money, right, without even having to be anywhere, without having to rely on people. So that you can have time to do more of the things that you like ultimately why you make money. You know what I'm saying? Long are the days of people going into work. Why you think now they trying to get people to come back to work and don't nobody want to go back to work? It's just not the culture anymore. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, focus on building your business, but become buried in your business, and then you'll start to see your business grow. I see the thing with me. I think I never thought about it. I was too busy buried into the business, and it just grew organically. And that's the stage that you want to get to. You know what I'm saying? So it's okay to be eager, but man, you know, be patient. You know what I'm saying? And just let the business put, you know, once you build a business, it's like I said on the live stream the other day, you treating your business like your baby, like your parents treated you. You know, they instill morals and values into you as a kid so that you can go out into the real world and do it on your own. Your first box truck or your first cargo van is your baby. You're building that baby up so that it can sustain on its own and build on its own. Once you go in your pocket initially, that first time, you shouldn't have to go in your pocket again. That first van or that first truck should be able to spawn another one. And then that second one should be able to spawn a third one, and so on and so forth. And that's how you got to look at it. So once you get your business to that level, that first vehicle you purchase to that level, then, you know what I'm saying, I'm not saying it's going to be smooth sailing from there, but, you know, as far as investment, you shouldn't have to make a second initial investment. That's why it's called initial. Should be one time. You made that initial investment. Now that business should be able to sustain on its own and grow on its own. You know what I'm saying? If it's not growing on its own, then you need to go back to the drawing board, right? And figure out what you're doing wrong, or why isn't the business profiting. What can you do to increase profitability? What can you do to increase your margins so ultimately that business can start to sustain within itself? Just keep working and be patient. You said buy more guns and buy more ammo. Yeah, I try to buy as much ammo as possible. I had an argument with my mama the other day. She apologized, to me. We was arguing because they banned assault rifle. Our governor banned assault rifles here, but if you already own one, your grandfather. But you got to re-register it every year. So I was thinking about, trading in my AR for an AR pistol instead of an AR rifle, because I got an AR rifle. And, she was telling me I should, but then I thought about it. I'm like, nah, I'm going to keep it. I'm like, we might have a zombie apocalypse. My mom is real religious, she's an old, from the South, you know what I'm saying? So, she's real religious and things of that nature. And I'm like, nah, I'm going to keep it, and, well, she's quoting scriptures from the Bible. And I'm like, man, that's all fine and dandy. But, if it goes down, it's going to be me protecting you and not you protecting me. And guess what? I need some big firepower to last as long as I can last. She called me back, apologized, today because I'm right. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, we got, I've been stockpiling ammo since 2020. Been stockpiling. So I got stuff stashed all over the place. I'm thinking about finding and getting me a bunker just in case, man. And I got stuff stashed all over the place. Yeah, man. Stockpiling on guns and ammo. I think that's the key. I've been stockpiling on ammo. I'm pretty much set with firepower, but I've been definitely stockpiling on ammo since 2020. You said, damn, Mark, you don't forget. What I don't forget? I should say the problem is politicians can't stop spending printing money, which is causing. Oh, I know what you're talking about, what Putin said. I don't forget nothing. Especially something like that. When the man said, yo, I'm going to wreak havoc that y'all ain't never seen in your country's history. Why wouldn't I forget that? That man could have nukes pointed at us. I don't want to forget that. You know what I'm saying? I keep that in mind. Because he said that. And when a man tells you something, the only thing you can do is take a man on his word until he shows you otherwise. So I'm taking that man on his word until he shows me that he's a liar. And as long as he's in power, then that word he gave us could come into fruition at any time. Yeah, so you damn right I remember when he said that. He said that the day he started the war, or the day before, the day of. The day of. He said, man, don't get involved. But, Biden got involved. So, it seems like everybody forgot that, but I didn't forget that. So you're right. Yeah, I didn't forget that. I would say the problem is the politicians can't stop spending and printing money, which is causing inflation to rise and it's stealing purchasing power from the people. Yeah, because they had to print some money to bail out those banks, which I don't think they should have did. I don't think they should have bailed out those banks. Because here's the thing: if they bail out those banks, now if more banks collapse, they got to bail out all the banks because they bailed out those two banks. You know what I'm saying? They don't bail out when Capital One gets hacked, right? Do they bail out Capital One? Or if I, whatever, if I don't know, if I stick my card in a ATM or whatever, and it's a card reader in the area, and somebody snatch my information out the air or out the card reader, are they gonna bail me out? You know what I'm saying? I know the bank is probably gonna give me my money, but like by them bailing out those banks, now they gotta bail out every bank. I think we're gonna have some more bank collapses. And now they gotta bail them out, which means they're gonna have to print more money. You're right. But prior to that, the inflation is just being caused by people not stopping spending. We need people to stop spending. And like I said the other day, man, I want the market to collapse. I need to see the bottom. I want to see the bottom because it becomes a sale. You know what I'm saying? We get to buy at very, very low rates. And this is why I tell people to save your money. Stop spending your money. Why? Because we're going through a cycle. It happens every so many years where the economy crashes, everything goes on sale. I don't look at it like how other people look at it. The people who look at it that other way, this is what separates the boys from the men and the women from the girls. Rich people buy at the bottom, right? They don't buy at market value. They wait for the economy to collapse and they buy wholesale. It's like a big, huge sale. I look at it as a sale. So we need that bottom. It has to happen. It's healthy for the economy, and people who have cash on hand are going to be the winners. You got to have cash on hand. So let these people keep spending their money. I ain't bought nothing. I bought some clothes. I haven't bought no big frivolous purchases. Clothes, that's about it. And I haven't really bought too many. I bought a few outfits. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, I'm going to try. Well, damn, I got to go buy some shit for the summer. But other than that, I'm not buying no cars. I'm not buying nothing big. You know what I'm saying? I'm saving my money. I'm aggressively dollar cost averaging into my assets. Every day I'm dollar cost averaging in so that when the market collapses, it goes to the bottom. Then we buy in bigger bulk. And then by 25, I think 26, we're going to see that bubble again. I think the next bubble is going to be AI, artificial intelligence. We had our EV bubble in 2020. We had our cannabis bubble, which really I wouldn't consider a bubble, but we definitely had our EV bubble. We had our tech bubble, right? So I think AI is going to be the next bubble. I'm aggressively buying into AI. I'm buying all of it. I'm buying from the lowest to the highest. And I'm aggressively buying. I'm dollar cost averaging, and when it collapses, I'm gonna aggressively buy even more, and then I'm gonna patiently wait for when that bubble to come. And when that bubble comes, I'm gonna sell. I'm gonna be laughing and pointing my finger at people that didn't see this opportunity, right? Because history repeats itself, and I've been around long enough to see this happen 3-4 times now. You know what I'm saying? That they're gonna miss out, and it is what it is. So Russia just arrested a U.S. reporter claiming he was spying. Yeah, I heard that the other day. I heard that. 3 reasons why you should subscribe. Y'all read that. Nothing but the truth. Y'all still option trade when I have the time and still building my long-term portfolio. Yeah, keep buying. I don't know if you're answering questions about cargo vans, but what is the ideal population for cargo van to be successful? Ideal population? like once again, that goes into your market. Depends. Where are you located? If you're in a low density area, then there may not even be a cargo van opportunity for you. And then if you are in an area that's kind of like in the middle where there are opportunities for you, volume may not, volume may not succeed profitability to the point where it might not be, you know, worth your while. You know what I'm saying? So, if you're in a high density area, I'm gonna keep using high density and low density because that's what we're talking about tonight. Then your opportunities are going to be more plentiful. Um, One, because the population, and then that brings more volume, right? Um, so it works the same way as a box truck. You know what I'm saying? The more higher dense area you're in, the more population, the more volume, the more opportunity, the higher the pay scale. The lower the density, there may not be no opportunity at all, and the nearest opportunity may be X miles away to the point where it forces you into strictly OTR. And then you're running in the middle between high and low, which still is low. So it puts you in the middle because now you're just in the phase where it's like, there's no consistency, rates are low, volume is low, work is there, but not enough to really sustain and grow a business. So same situation as the box truck, you know. I really wish we had met you a year ago. You met me in August. I told you what y'all gotta do. Y'all just gotta pivot. Buy the dip, sell the rip. If you owe the bank a little money and can't pay, you have a problem. If you owe a lot of money, you can't pay the bank, has a problem. Exactly. Exactly. You bought Mac Studio. I bought Mac Studio. Okay, so Axel trying to call me out. The reason why I spent money is because I do a show every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday, right? So when my computer blew up, it became a necessity that I buy a computer. Right. Yeah, I could have bought a Mac Mini or a little Mac, but man, it's Mark. Mark the Mitchell. I gotta buy the big dog shit. So I bought the big dog shit. But I got a lot of shit going on too, which is why I bought this. You know what I'm saying? This is an asset that's being utilized to help people. You know what I'm saying? I didn't buy it for a frivolous purchase. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm been on live for 3 hours now answering questions. So it's an asset to help other people, and it's an asset to the people to consume good content and truthful content and content from an experienced person. You know, people that are watching are the consumers, even though there's no monetary value being exchanged, right? People come to YouTube, especially um, in this arena as far as box trucks for information. This isn't an entertainment channel. This is an educational channel. So they come here for information, right? And that would make them a consumer, right? Because they're consuming the content. So it's my job to give the best content. And the reason why I can give the best content, that I think one of the main reasons why I'm able to do is because I have experience. Experience is always the best teacher. And I have to have the tools, Axel, to be able to provide this content. So did I contribute to what Jerome Powell is trying to stop? Yeah, but it wasn't a want, it was a necessity. So I don't fit those categories. I'm saving my money. I wouldn't have bought this if my other one didn't blow up. You see what I'm saying? So you know, yeah. So don't come for me, Axel, because I eat you up. I eat you up, man. I eat you up, Axel. Don't start with me. Grace Logistics in the building, Shot Town in the building. I always got people, Shot Town people, they get an air horn. Gotta give my Shot Town people an air horn and an applause. They get a little extra when you from the crib. A little extra when you from the crib. Crypto Gangster, appreciate you tonight, man. I appreciate you for chiming in. Assets over liabilities for sure. Thank you, Mark, for your time. It is greatly appreciated. Share Sheridan Forge, appreciate you. Hey, Axel, I'll see you tomorrow, man. You're going to have all the fun tomorrow talking about these box truck creators. All right? So one more time before we get out of here. Tomorrow's show, you guys are going to get to see Axel. And, God damn it, where do I go to show? There we go. There we go. I got too much stuff going on over here. All right, let me, how you make it bigger? There we go. Bigger. And then we want to take me out of there. Is honesty a disadvantage on YouTube? And our box truck cargo van creators putting money over morals. So tomorrow, that's what the three wise men are going to be talking about. For you guys that want coaching, you guys know where to go get the coaching at. www.boxtruckcourses.com, which is right here on this banner. Other than that, I will see you guys tomorrow if there's no more questions. What time is it? 11 o'clock? It's 11 o'clock on the dot. So I did 3 hours tonight, guys. 3 hours tonight. So I'm out, y'all. See y'all tomorrow. Make sure y'all there. If y'all watching the game tomorrow, make sure y'all come chime in after the game is over with. Peace out.